Hey everyone,
We
we
live.
live, and before we talk about Vaush and the Syria strike, we have some news. We have been demonetized on the entire channel, not on our one of our videos, not on some videos, the entire channel, and that's why you can see our members. They don't look at Ghost Bunny here. She's a member. Dolly was a member. Dolly was a member. Kenji was a member. Mortal Skeptic was a member, but you don't see their membership badges anymore because we have been. Guys, don't touch your membership stuff, okay? So that maybe if we come back and get monetized, your membership stays. But why have we been demonetized? YouTube says for hateful content. On which video, Susie?
Oh, you
We
think
don't
they tell us?
know.
You think
No,
they tell us?
we don't know. And they're like,
Against
you have
any
to,
particular group? Any particular protected class?
we don't know.
Yo no sé. Yo
So
no
we have
sé.
to fix the channel and then reapply. How do we fix the channel, YouTube? Just figure it out. Can you tell us which videos?
Nah.
No. Can you tell us what we did wrong? Which one was hateful? Nope. Just guess. You have thousands of videos, and you just have to like figure it out somehow without any communication, and you just could reapply. Amazing communication, right? This is amazing.
It's a bummer because we had we didn't even get other strikes.
No, we don't.
We had one strike that was not even a violation of YouTube's terms of service. So like an incorrect strike. And then usually you get 2 or 3 more. No, yeah, 2 more. No, we just woke up today demonetized.
I think all of us had girlfriends like this. Mortal Skeptic is saying, you did something wrong. What did I do wrong? I'll let you figure that out. We all had girlfriends like this, didn't we?
No.
No. I had a girlfriend like this. This is YouTube just acting like a bad girlfriend. Guys, so another amazing thing, by the way, is that
hate its creators.
Yeah.
Unless they're like a mainstream company.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We got guys. This is why we're so grateful that a lot of you are patrons. We're so grateful that a lot of you are patrons, and we think that if we get to 1,000 patrons, we never have to worry about monetization again. Okay, so we have been growing really fast on Patreon in the last couple of months. We were like for years we were on like under 100. And now in the past couple of months, we went from 100 to 340 now, right? If we ever get to 1,000, that means we never have to worry about monetization. So if you want to support the channel, please, Patreon link in the description. Go on, Susanna.
People say that they can't hear me. Did you turn down my volume?
Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry.
How's it now? You did this to me on International Women's Day? The sexism, the misogyny at work. You guys see this, right?
Wow,
you guys see this.
Loud now. Now I need to turn you down.
This silencing women's voices.
I celebrate International Women's Day by putting women where they belong. This is women need to be silent. And I'm recognizing that on International Women's Day.
No,
okay?
Burger King.
This is the proper way of recognizing International Women's Day by showing women that they need to be silent and recognizing their role in society. But go on.
No, Burger King got in trouble today with the UK chain because they tweeted "Women belong in the kitchen."
Yeah.
On International Women's Day, and people are like, "What? Oh my god!" Blah blah blah. They're like, "Yes, women are underrepresented. I can't talk in the culinary industry. Only 24% of women are chefs. You know, in the culinary industry, women do belong in the kitchen." I was like, "Oh, how the turntables."
Music guy. No, what the hell? These people. Look at all these simps.
Music guy, you want me on top today? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe this is why we're demonetized. Wow.
True.
A woman who happens to be the CEO of Atheist Republic. Shh, yourself. Yeah. See, this is how actually. Never mind. I was gonna. This is gonna definitely get us, guys. First of all, now that we know, now that we have been fully demonetized, support us on Patreon, and also this might also one day lead to completely our channel being removed at some points because we don't know. So make sure you get on our newsletter subscription, link in the description, so that if we ever have videos for you and we ever get removed from here, we could tell you where you go. By the way, if our video editor, if you're watching, let's move on all the upcoming live streams to my personal Armin Navabi YouTube channel so that we could get like some monetization there. Link to my personal YouTube channel in the description, so check that out.
And make sure to hit the notification bell there so you can actually learn when we go live.
Yes.
And so we're going to be doing the streams over on his personal channel. And then those videos will be uploaded to this channel, and then the clips will still be on this channel.
You're right.
Yeah. If you were a member over here,
don't change that.
Yeah, don't change that. It's paused for now. We can reapply for the partnership program in 1 month. And I don't know how long that takes for the applications to be.
And we don't know what to change before we reapply. We have no idea. Another thing, guys, we review channels here that are monetized, that are openly transphobic, that are openly racist. Okay, openly racist, openly white supreme, anti-vax, white supreme channels that you can see the join button. They're monetized,
verified,
okay? Verified,
with millions of subscribers, and people who work with Alex Jones.
Yeah, and video. Wait, so people that claim the election was a fraud, people that are like genuinely telling people not to get vaccinated, like dangerous stuff like that. Like, and we are pushing back against them, right? And they are still monetized, and we are demonetized, and we have no idea why. Amazing.
Oh my God, they're winning. Atheist is saying OP India is monetized too.
Amazing. Wow.
Aligawa's monetized.
Amazing.
It's on
These are like genuinely anti-Muslim bigots are monetized, and people like us who are like defending Muslims in India and in China while criticizing Islam, we have been demonetized. Amazing. Somebody like Ali Daba who's like actually telling like, yeah, based on my values, under certain situations, people who leave Islam, you should be executed. That channel is monetized.
Cool. Nice.
By the way, guys, please don't say this is anti-free speech. Okay? Don't say that.
Oh, yeah. Don't say
that. Our free speech hasn't been violated. This is dumb. This is stupid. This is... we can complain about it. We can complain about it without pretending like this is something like it's not. Okay? It's not a violation of our free speech. Okay? However, we shouldn't just complain about it. I think we have done a good job at trying to prepare for a day like this, right? We have getting a lot of you on our newsletter subscription because we knew that this day will come.
The only platform that we only own.
The only platform that we own. So please get on our newsletter subscription. And for the sake of we need to be able to keep paying for our editors and artists, right? And this is a huge cut from our revenue. It's a huge cut from our revenue. So if you can, especially if you
this cut can pay for one of our staff members itself.
Yes, like we have editors and we have artists and we need to pay them. So if you could get on our Patreon and support us on Patreon, that would be very nice. And you get a lot of free art, juicy, sexy, blasphemous art in return. Okay, guys, we give you so much as a patron. Like sometimes, every time we're putting an art out there, I keep telling Susie are we giving them too much? Like
the value is actually ridiculous.
We're like $1 patrons, and we're this is like the 8th art that we're giving them today. Like, look how much you get.
And a hadith.
Yeah, and the hadith comics. You guys get so much value for being a patron. Anyways, link in the description.
Okay. Katie is saying, oh wait, no, I wanted to highlight that YouTube is like a toxic relationship with no alternatives. Yeah, this is worse than a relationship with Jesus Christ. swear.
No, that's an exaggeration. Okay. But no, there's an alternative. Our newsletter, link in the description. Link in the description. That's the alternative, okay? Because if you're on our because we're gonna find a place to get these videos to you if our channel ever gets like completely nuked out of existence. If you're on our newsletter, we will send it. We will find a way to send the videos to you. Get on the goddamn newsletter. Anyways, we should get to this.
Also, to everyone who reached out to me about this issue today, thank you for messaging me. I couldn't respond to everyone. There was a lot of people who were like, Susanna, what's happening? I just wanted to explain it like once here. So yeah, but thank you guys for being so caring.
Right. Oh yeah, actually you're right. Armin and his wise advice. Yes, guys, here's the thing. When something happens to you that is out of your control, okay, complain about it a little bit, but don't spend too much time complaining about it. Think about the things that you can control. Not about like people like, oh my God, YouTube is unfair. YouTube is unfair. Yes, YouTube is unfair, but we can't change YouTube. Okay, we don't have that level of connect. Like we don't have the connections and the powers. We don't have it. We don't know enough people to go and change the way. Like people are like, YouTube is unfair. Okay, YouTube is unfair. What are you gonna do about it? Okay, so we're gonna focus more on telling you guys to support us on Patreon and also get on our newsletter subscription. Like we need to focus more on how to respond to YouTube being like this rather than just only cry about YouTube being like this. Okay, so do that generally in your life. Okay, just put things in separate categories. Things that sucks that you can't do anything about it, and things that sucks that you can do about it. And focus on, cry a little bit about those things and be upset about it, but then focus more of your attention on things that you can actually do. Anyways,
yeah, it's okay to let yourself be upset. You just can't sit in it. You have to be like, okay, how do I move forward?
Yeah, this is better than.
Did I cry in the shower for a half an hour? Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh, my poor Susie.
Got out of the shower. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do now?
Oh, yeah.
But
you work so hard for our channel to grow, and then this is like the response that we get. This is not fair. No, it's okay. Yeah, this is by the way. This is why Stoicism is wrong, okay? Let yourself be. This is a better version of Stoicism. Let yourself be upset, okay? Don't be like, this is not affecting me. Bull crap. Let yourself be upset, but get over it soon and do something about it, okay? And this is what we're going to do. We're going to get Atheist Republic to 1,000 patrons, and that when we get there, we never have to worry about monetization ever again, okay? So help us get there. Anyways, we need to get to this video. This is supposed to be a video about Vaush and the strike, right? So, anything? Oh yeah, cool. Let me see. What?
We're gonna get so high. When I was getting in the shower, I was like, God, I wish I still used.
It's okay. All right, let's get here. Oh my. Okay, guys, I'm gonna make a promise, and I'm not gonna be able to keep it.
Yep.
I'm already breaking my promise preemptively. This video is 30 minutes long, and it takes us 1 hour usually to review a 10-minute video. Okay, so I'm gonna try not to interrupt Vaush too much, and just interrupt only a few times and give my commentary on it. And I promise you that I'm gonna not gonna pause too much. And I'm already gonna tell you that this is a promise that I'm gonna not be able to keep. Okay.
Wait, before you play, look at his chat. There's someone called Rave Dubin in the chat saying, Vaush, Kyle Klawinski has been cringe on this.
True.
But also the username Rave Dubin is amazing.
Okay, I like you, Rave Dubin. Yeah. Anyways, let's finish this. Where is this audio? Can you hear?
Yeah.
Oh,
So, fun as it is to rep anarcho-Bidenism, the premier, every once in a while, we have to put down the hood and the cowl, and we have to dig deep. We have to grind our feet into the dirt, crack our knuckles, and maybe get involved in a bit of criticism. Now, I'm loath to criticize Biden. I know, what with him being a communist, it's feel like he's really slipped up this time. I don't really know how what he's doing right now is advancing the international interests of the proletariat. An airstrike, first military action in Joe Biden's presidency.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's read up just a hot sec. Joe Biden has carried out his first military action as president with airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed fighters in Syria, is what the Pentagon said was retaliation for a rocket attack in Iraq earlier this month that killed one civilian contractor and wounded a U.S. service member and other coalition troops. The overnight strikes killed 22 people after hitting 3 trucks loaded with munitions near the border town of Abu Kamal, a war monitor said on Friday. Border posts used by the Iranian militia groups were also destroyed, the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said. It said all of the dead were from Iraq's state-sponsored Hashd al-Shabi, an umbrella force that includes many small militias with ties to Iran. The Pentagon's chief spokesperson, John Kirby, said the location of the strikes were used by Kataib Hezbollah
Hezbollah
and Kataib Saeed al-Shahada, 2 Iraqi...
Kataib Sayyid al-Shahada.
Let him know, King.
No, it's like...
operating under the Hashd umbrella.
I'm pretty sure if there are any Arabs listening to me, they would be like, "Oh my God, the Persian accent."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Al-Shahada, 2 Iraqi pro-Iran groups operating under the Hashd umbrella. This proportionate military response was conducted together with diplomatic measures, including consultation with coalition partners, Kirby said. The operation sends an unambiguous message. President Biden will act to protect American and coalition personnel. At the same time, we have acted in a deliberate manner that aims to de-escalate the overall situation in eastern Syria and Iraq. Okay. So we have some stuff to talk about. Now I'm going to open this by yelling at lefties. Very quickly, we just have to get it out of the way. If you're a lefty and you're saying that this is bombing brown children or whatever, then you need to stop.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Based.
Legitimately obfuscating the issue. It was a fairly targeted airstrike against actual military, state-sponsored, militia group. This isn't a civilian target. We have, and to my knowledge, there is no evidence that a civilian target was hit. Okay. Does that make it good? No. However, let's be clear about it. Okay. Because I'll tell you one thing. Okay. There is a very big difference between bombing a wedding and bombing an arms depot.
Thank you.
Recognize.
Wow. Okay. So far, better take than obviously
Most people.
Most people, yeah. Definitely a better take than Paul Joseph Watson and Kyle Kalinske so far.
I hope.
Paul Joseph Watson's take was more about dunking on the left than it was actually about commentary about the strike. It was just a means to an end.
It was such a ridiculous. It was like, oh my God, it was the worst.
And if we conflate the two, it becomes impossible to...
It was not even it was like creating an imaginary event that never even happened and just responding to that instead.
To make meaningful criticisms because everything becomes everything and nothing becomes nothing. An example of this was, do you guys remember that TikTok from a person who claimed... It's
amazing that the right-leaning channels are like, oh, why are you brown children, brown people, like, and then the left-leaning channel like Vaush is like guys, stop saying brown children, these were militia. Like what, like who's like, usually you think that the identity politics take would be on the, like they have gone full circle. Like some of these right-leaning channels have gone full circle on their
claimed that
They become what they hated the most.
she worked on Kamala Harris's campaign team. Just some young woman, and she was like, yeah, I worked in the campaign team, and she was doing a little dance. You remember this? Now, I may not like Kamala Harris.
You know what he's talking about?
In that Twitter thread, lots of them calling her a war criminal. What the fuck do lefties think war criminal means? What exactly? What does that mean? I'm not kidding. There were thousands of them. Like, wow,
Yeah.
grew up so great, and now you're a war criminal. Like, what do they think that means?
Wait, has Kamala Harris ever been involved in any decisions about any wars?
To my knowledge, no.
So how is she a war criminal?
Okay, no. So this is more of a comment. It's a brain dead commentary on the Democratic establishment. That's what it is.
Oh,
for
so
those
if
who
you associate with the establishment in any way, you all of a sudden automatically become a war criminal by association?
apparently to a lot of dumbassery on Twitter.
Okay.
Yes. So for those who
Cool.
aren't familiar, there was this TikTok of this girl. She was 19, beautiful, doing this dance where she's like talking about all her accomplishments at the age of 19. I found it a little bit smug, but also like, congrats for you for being accomplished. Anyway, so she talked about how she was like one of the youngest members of, or the youngest member of Kamala Harris's campaign team. And because of that, people were calling her a war criminal. And I'm so glad for Vaush for calling this out, because I've been around people like this, where it's like,
Right.
you do know that this has a specific meaning and itself has a specific designation and important criteria.
Right. I hope Vaush starts having some bad takes, because I don't want to keep saying that all of his takes are bad.
Or criminal
Are good. I mean, I don't want to keep defending everything he says.
is when you work on a Democrat's campaign team. Like, it's everything is a war.
Yeah.
Again, I want to be really, really clear. Leftists, if you call everything a war crime, nothing is a war crime. If you
Okay, so does this criticism apply to me? Because I call Trump and Obama war criminals for their support of Saudi Arabia's war in Yemen. Is that more? Does this criticism apply to me, or is that different? Because
I
like
think
Kamala,
that actually meets the international standard.
that meets international standard. Yes, okay. Thank you for confirming.
I think
my
I'm
position.
not like crystal clear, but
Hmm.
it's a exponentially more legitimate argument than just you once
Yeah.
worked for a Democrat running for office.
Yes, maybe Kamala Harris is a war criminal to be soon, but not yet. Not yet.
You call everyone a war criminal, nothing is a war criminal. And I see lefties abuse the term war criminal all the time, by the way. War crimes are when you commit a war
crime.
Unless there was something in that Twitter thread that I really missed, I do not think that woman committed a war crime. To my knowledge, I suppose it's always possible. So that's my yelling at lefties out of the way. Are we done?
Wait,
Are we
pause. There was someone on the live chat saying buying ice cream for toddlers is a war crime. The stuff in the chat always just cracks me up.
No.
Okay. I'm a big advocate for
Wait, is this us?
That was me commenting. You do know that I have access to this side of the channel,
I know.
right?
understanding the totality of these issues, because I think it helps us draw a good conclusion, a good action plan. What is this from chat? Why are they bombing Vaush? Please explain. I don't understand the teams in this metagame.
Didn't he just read the article? Because they attacked you. Because they attacked Americans.
Sure.
No, I think this is someone who doesn't even like know where Syria is.
Oh, but he read the article at the beginning.
Let's continue.
Let me find a map of the Middle East.
You know what? I'm gonna stop. Yeah, I should.
This is going to
Let's
be
come
a we're going to be playing it a little hard and fast with our geography lesson here, but I think we'll hold on.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Just a moment.
I really hope Vaush does more Middle East stuff, gives us more content to talk about.
Okay, let me-
Well, his stuff on Israel we could talk about for years.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for the fact that we'd probably get banned from Twitch from reviewing it. Like
I don't know. I think Vaush has like matured a lot since then. So I think his takes are more nuanced than before.
No, he
But
has he has some things to say about Israel in this stream.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
In Paint.
In Paint.
He's literally drawing stuff.
This map. No.
What's wrong with
Why
that?
is this map on Twitter? Not Twitter, sorry, on Google Image Search in GIF format? What is it with people and the way they save their files? People will say
skip forward a few seconds.
Days. They'll say
Oh, he just complains about the format for a little second.
any file type is any file type. They'll fake PNGs with the little checkerboard shit in the background. What are these people doing, honestly? That's a war crime right there. GIF has less compression. I don't care. Fuck you.
Okay.
That's not.
No.
No.
Oh my God, we should have a map like this to talk about Middle East stuff. That would be fun.
There we go. This is what some people call the Middle East.
This is because of your Western-centric perspective that you call this the Middle East. You know what? This is Western Asia. Yes, this is Western Asia, and you guys, Susanna, you guys are in the far west. I don't know what to call you guys. We'll come up with terminology because yes,
we're in the new world.
Now you know what? This is middle world. This is Middle Earth. Yes. The middle, this is, Middle Earth. Yeah, never.
Decolonize your mind, bruh.
Decolonize your minds, you racist. Anyways, no.
You can't even get through it.
I don't know. I don't speak lefty, but we'll see.
Still not entirely sure why it's called that, but that's what it's called. And this is a country.
Well, because it's of a Western perspective.
Called Iraq. Pretty cool, huh? This is a country called Syria.
Made up
Syria's
countries.
omega fucked right now. Whew, lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, everybody is like here. Turkey is here. Iran is here. United States is here. Western European country. Everybody's like, hey, hello, Syria. That's a nice country you have there. Don't mind if we step right in.
Mm-hmm.
In Syria at the moment. And there's a helicopter overhead. Probably Biden silencing me for the scathing criticism that I'm about to levy. So we understand this totally well, okay? So Syria is what we call omega fucked. There are like 46 competing interests that are fighting over territory here. Our boys are the fucking Rahavans. And I believe about this area. My geography is terrible. I just read this shit. Don't hurt me.
Well, I don't know. Okay, yes, and they're funding, and your boys, they're funding people that used to be Al Qaeda. Okay, wait, we don't have to worry about monetization. I can say that stuff now.
I mean, but we do have to reapply.
Oh, shit. Oh, never mind.
For guys, if you're not familiar, he's saying that Rojava is our boys because they're like they have an anarchist bent to them.
Oh, I see. Wait, so no, but CIA is also here.
Antifa's really into Rojava.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. But
there's a lot of Antifa demonstrations for Rojava in my area, especially when Trump said that he was going to pull support from that area. I can't remember exactly.
Wait, I need to look into that. I don't know if that has been romanticized by, like, is it as by a lot of anarchists, or is it legit like something?
It's very romanticized by anarchists and people who are for Kurdish independence.
You know what?
Kurds are deep into Rojava. Well, I'm not going to generalize. The ones I follow on Instagram.
Wait, this might be an excuse for us to get all these leftists on board with being anti the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? Because that's what these people, your boys, are up against. Far right theocracy of the Islamic Republic of Iran, who's trying to come and do imperialism here, right? So with that framework, we could get the leftists to join us being against the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? You have your anarchists here, and guess who's crushing them? The imperialist far right theocracy of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yeah, I'm not very well versed on Rojava, but my understanding is it's very women centric. In fact, one of the female leaders of Rojava has created this, like, the word for it is like jinn or something. It's like they have a word for it. She created basically like a women's science, like jinn, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but in the local dialect or whatever means woman. And so she created her own like women's science. Some parts sound a little bit culty. I'm like, this is a little weird, but I'm really not that well versed, so don't.
We should do a stream on that. That sounds pretty cool, actually. Like to do a stream on. But let's continue.
Essentially, like an anarchist group, and they were getting pushed in by Turkey, and you blah 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 blah. Blah.
Wait, pause. Anyway, in fact, a lot of Western anarchists went to go fight for Rojava because that's how far left they were. And died over there.
Okay, the main person that everybody here needs to be afraid of is Assad, who's backed up by Islamic Republic. Okay, so I know they're gonna make Turkey. I mean, here we could make Turkey the boogeyman as well, because Turkey is like, as much as Iran is a destructive force here in both Syria and Iraq. Let's not. I mean, Turkey is like the second worst destructive force here, but that's fine. Turkey is also a far right, like ethno-nationalist, right-leaning religious group as well. That we could
Turkey's treatment of the Kurds is
we could unite with the anarchists who are interested in Syria. We could get them to unite with us against Turkey's government and Iran's government at the same time. Okay, let's continue.
Long story short, Syria doesn't exactly have what we might call a robust...
This is how you get like lefty Westerners get on board with your anti-Iran government and anti-Turkey government narratives.
Domestic police force. So there are a lot of insurgents and military groups within Syria that are aligned with a bunch of different groups. Now, America, I'm going to draw some American red dots in here, has presence in Iraq. We have for a long time.
With the permission of the current government. Oh, but okay, some people say the government that they put in place. Well, you might say that, yeah, but the government that the Iraqis like more than they like Saddam. So as much as you could say like, well, we put them in place. Yeah, but most Iraqis think that this is better than Saddam. So there's that.
I mean, that's a low bar.
Yeah, that's a low bar. But also, most Iraqis are Shia supremacists. So I don't know if that's... I don't know. Let's continue.
Habibi.
We were allies with the Iraqi
government. No, not most. I don't know. Most. I take that back. Many, not most.
The new Iraqi government. We kind of pushed in place there, after Saddam. But even that relationship has been strained lately on account of, among other things, the attack that Trump authorized on Soleimani, where we, no shit, fucking missile striked Soleimani in an Iraqi airport.
Base! Good. Great strike. Great takeout. One of the very, very few things that Trump did right when it comes to foreign policy. Almost 99% of what Trump did foreign policy was idiotic, moronic, and destructive. There's only two things that they did that was good, I think, and that I can think of that was good. One was taking out Soleimani. The other one was accidentally good. They weren't even trying to do good, but they accidentally did good. Their motivations was not to do good, but like calling out the genocide in China, like labeling it as genocide. But
the
that's
State
more
Department designating China's actions against the Uyghur minority as genocide.
as genocide.
Official
Yeah.
executive branch designation.
Two things that the Trump administration did that was very, very helpful, but I can't think of anything else that they did that was good.
To what extent did they have a role in the assassination of Al-Farzad?
Fakhri,
Yes,
Fakhrizadeh.
Yeah.
Fakhrizadeh. I think there were only the official stance. Well, not the official stance. The current understanding is that they were just informed that this is going to happen, but I don't know if that's true. Some people say it wouldn't have happened without the blessing of the United States, and some people say that as if like they know for sure. I don't know how they could know that for sure, but anyways.
Imagine if America had a criminal or like a bad guy here in our country, and the UK missile striked LAX to kill him.
Wait, what? Okay, first bad take by Vaush.
If America had a criminal or like a bad guy here in our country, and the UK missile striked LAX to kill him.
Oh my God. Okay. No, it's not. That's not a good analogy, because that analogy would be more accurate if United States had given permission for the UK military to have free reign and go around and bring
to do that
and to bring just to be fair, when they took out Soleimani, the Iraqi government did complain, but then that was like they were like, hey, we might so here's what happened. Okay, the Iraqi government had given permission for US military to go around and bring peace around the country. Okay, so United States was doing that with the permission of the United States government. When they did this, the Iraqi government for a while considered like, that was not good, United States. We might take your permission away, but they didn't. So it's not even comparable. Do we have the UK military just roaming around, like UK helicopters and military and on the ground in United States, just United States government just asking the UK government to just make United States more peaceful and fight terrorists? Because if that was the situation and they found a terrorist inside LAX and they took him out, then that would be more comparable, right? Because UK was like, well, you asked us to go around and take out terrorists, and we found one, right? And we took him out, right? So you could, even then you could be like, okay, that was not cool. United States could be like, well, that we didn't mean like that, right? And you could still find some faults with it, but it would be more comparable to what happened, right? It wouldn't be like he's kind of suggesting as if the United Kingdom, it just without permission, without any pre-arrangement, just showed up at LAX and an airport in the United States and just took out some guy. That is not what happened in Iraq when they took out Soleimani. I'm not saying like it completely, like you could still find faults with it, but that's not comparable.
Just absolutely wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Well, in a good way.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievably effective. It was unbelievably effective. One of the, again, after Iranian proxies attacked the United States embassy. Soil. Yeah, it's basically U.S. soil, right? You would expect retaliation.
The most well-protected U.S. embassy in the world.
Yes.
They were at like the front door.
Right. And you were like, oh yeah, let's not retaliate at all. This was such a measured response. It was not even within inside. It needed to be something like you're attacking Americans, and we attack. Such a perfect opportunity. You took out a person that was a major blow to Iran without escalation to full-out war. Like you didn't even attack them on their soil. You didn't do a military attack. You didn't go full-on confrontation. You took out a few guys, and it really hurt, and it didn't escalate things. It was such a surgical, painful removal of somebody that really mattered, it was such a measured response to something that needed a response. It was one of the best responses. Like it was, there are few times that you could really make a country like suffer for what they did to you without escalating, with such low collateral damage. The only people that have managed to top that was Mossad when they took out Fakhrizadeh. Okay, because when Mossad took out Fakhrizadeh, his wife was centimeters away from him. Okay, and nobody got injured. Even his wife didn't get injured. Like zero collateral damage. You took out the guy that was responsible for weaponizing Iran's nuclear power, and Israel managed to take your nuclear weaponization, delay that for years by taking out one guy with zero arrest. Iran didn't manage to find a single person and no collateral damage, such surgical. It was perfect. It was a perfect takeout by the Mossad. It was amazing. Like I wish the Israeli government does more operations like that where innocent people don't die. There are a lot of things Israel does that is like human rights violations and innocent people suffer. I hope they do more of what they did when they took out Fakhrizadeh and less of those other things. Go on.
Well, his assassination was not only extremely surgical in its precision, but it goes so much farther than just the murder of one man, and further than the top nuclear scientist in the country. Right. But it sends the message to the entire country that this man, who is your most important nuclear scientist in charge of your nuclear energy, he is not safe within your borders.
Right.
This regime oppresses you under the illusion that it's protecting you. It's not. It's not even protecting its most valuable asset in continuing its pursuit of a Shia imperialist project.
Okay, so
is through its nuclear means, right?
Susanna, you're saying that with a lot of knowledge and context that a lot of people might not understand what you're talking about, right? So,
but it's like, am I wrong?
No, you're right, but that comes with a lot of
I'll break
history.
It down. Just think about, well, like I said, you're under this authoritarian regime. A lot of propaganda is that this is for your own good. This is for your protection. Except they are not protecting their most valuable asset. It's that simple. Think about the message that sends to the general population, and then also to all the other individuals who are very important assets to this regime. They're weak.
Susanna is more in touch with the local Iranian opposition against the government than most people saw. So I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to put that in context right now, but let's move on.
That was for sure a war crime, though, right? I don't think that took place in the purview of a war. I'm not sure. Well, whatever the case is, we're losing the plot right here, okay? Stop. American presence in Iraq, okay? We got people, we got contractors, we got soldiers, and we got mercenaries there, okay? Now, Iran doesn't like us, and we don't like Iran, but we can't.
Okay, if just a feedback to Vaush, Iranians, again, you know what? This is me getting influenced by people from Iran who language police me. Whenever I talk like that, people are like, hey, Armin, say the Iranian government. Yeah. We love America. All right. Okay, fine. The Iranian government doesn't like United States. Okay. So every time you say Iran doesn't like United States, there are so many people from Iran who get butthurt. They're like, hey, don't group us with the government. We love America. Okay.
I think there's some people in Iran who like America a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think so. True.
I was talking to one person. He wanted Trump. He wanted me to vote for Trump so that Trump would essentially start a land war with Iran. And I'm like, no.
No, there's too many Trump supporters in Iran.
Can't do a direct war with Iran for a wide variety of reasons. It would be very bad for us and for them. Okay.
Wait, what did he say? I was distracted by Maggie's compliment of him. Go.
We can't start a direct war with Iran because it's bad for both parties.
Yeah, true. Oh my god, this is gonna get me canceled for so many Iranians. By the way, a lot of Iranians in Iran are like, "Come bomb us, save us, bomb us." God, Susie, there are some people in Iran that say that even if you, oh my god, I can't even say it. You know what? I can't say it because I don't know. Yeah, YouTube be crazy, so I might think I'm saying it. Okay, they're suggesting United States do things to Iran that is considered war crimes. Okay, and they're like, it's fine if so many people die in Iran. It's worth the cost if we get saved from this regime. That's how far some Iranians go. Like they're like, even if you take out the main city, okay?
Oh, I know. I've talked to some of them.
Yeah, they're like, at least the rest of they're like
Hiroshima level stuff.
Okay, let me tell you guys how bad this. I mean, so here's how it is. Okay, I remember when I was in Iran, when I was in school, when United States attacked Iraq, right, to take that Saddam, there were all of this, like my classmates, we were in the yard in the school, and everybody was shouting, "We are next, we are next, we are next, we are next." Like they were like celebrating that because the axis of evil were like North Korea, Iraq, and Iran. So they thought naturally, if they're taking out Saddam first, they're gonna come and take the Ayatollahs next. And they were like, so many people in Iran were so excited and looking forward for United States to attack Iran next. It was something. But that optimism died down. It's still there by a lot of people, and they're still waiting for that. But it has been significantly less given what they saw happen to Iraq in the decade after. But anyways.
Iran knows that if they go ahead fucking boots on the ground marching into Iraq, because they don't like Iraq that much either, that would also be bad for them because it would justify a coalition strike on their country.
Wait, what? Iran's government is in Iraq.
Yeah, rewind that.
What are you talking about?
For us and for them, okay? And Iran knows that if they go ahead fucking boots on the ground marching into Iraq, because they don't like Iraq that much either.
What do you mean Iran doesn't like Iraq? Iran loves Iraq. They own Iraq. I mean, I take by
de facto.
De facto. Wait, what do you mean Iran doesn't like Iraq? This is like, are you thinking about the like war Iran and Iraq used to have? Iran.
Maybe he means the U.S. presence in Iraq.
Okay, wait. Iran is in Iraq.
Yeah.
Iran is not only doesn't have troops in Iraq, Iran is also in Iraq's government. Iran is in Iraq's parliament. Iran is almost, they're just waiting for United States to leave, and Iran will fully own, this will become, is close to becoming an Iranian province. Right? That they just need the Americans to leave.
That's what
and
they
want.
Like,
whoops. Yeah, they were like, yep. Can you guys like leave already so we could just like add this as one of our colonies?
Of the Shia Empire.
This is Iraq is about to become an Iranian colony. What do you mean they don't like? They are dominating, like they're building their Shia crescent. Iraq is part of the Shia crescent.
Yeah.
Syria, here the crescent starts from Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, the center, the fat part of the crescent, and it goes all the way down here to Yemen. That's the crescent. And guess who's in the middle of that crescent? And that's why they're like losing their minds. The Saudi Arabia is right deep in the middle of the crescent, and they're noticing this crescent is just tight like all around them. Why do you think they're panicking? Why do you think they're panicking all the time? But what do you mean? Okay, what do you mean they're not going to go troops? Like, what do you think this article that you read at the beginning? What do you think Hashd Shabi and Kataib Hezbollah is? That's Iran's troop on the ground in Iraq.
I don't know what he's thinking.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding him. And yeah, they like when this is okay. Vaush, if you want to be anti-U.S. imperialism, this is how you need to be anti-U.S. imperialism. Iraq was Iran's the Ayatollah's baby, and Saddam was holding it away from them.
Mhm.
So United States made the mistake. Well, I mean, hindsight is 2020, but removed Saddam, and Iran was like, oh, thank you. Oh, you freed our baby. You freed our baby. This used to be part of the Sassanid dynasty. This was part of the Persian Empire. You see this Baghdad? This is Ctesiphon. Do you know Ctesiphon was the capital of Iran? This is the capital of Iran.
We're back in business, baby.
This is Iran. This is like, guys, here's another thing. If you guys want to be anti-US imperialism, okay? These are borders that were drawn by Westerners. These are made-up countries that were drawn by, right? So Iran is like, yeah, you guys drew these. We don't recognize this. And now you remove Saddam, your dictators, and now you're removing those dictators, and we're like, okay, thank you so much. We're going to put this back where it belongs now, which is Iran's empire. Right? Okay. Anyways, let's continue.
That would also be bad for them because it would justify a coalition strike on their country.
Okay, wait. Ooh, Susie. So he's saying that if Iran has troops in Iraq, that would justify a coalition strike against their country. So given that we know that they do have troops in Iraq, is Vaush saying that it's justified right now to do a coalition strike against Iran?
Maybe he hasn't explicitly said so, and I watched the majority of the rest of this video, and I don't think he does say this, but maybe he's taking the position that these aren't
Iranian citizens?
That, but also like these are resistance outfits, basically. Like these are methods of resistance to U.S. imperialism. So it's like not the same. Although I haven't, because
okay,
we're watching
before I forget. Yes, these are Iran's resistance to U.S. imperialism for the sake of its own imperialism.
Yes.
Yeah, they are the resistance.
That's the distinction.
Yeah, it's not like anti-imperialist versus imperialist. It is one imperialist versus another imperialist.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, by the way, for people so here's another thing. These like a lot of people here are so racist against Arabs, right? So a lot of people are like, well, Iran is clever, right? Iran's government is clever because to make it so that the United States and other countries don't have an excuse to attack Iran directly, they don't use the military that they have at home, which is filled with Iranian citizens. They have proxies which are paid for by Tehran, but they're not Iranian. Like they have militia groups, they have Ex-Shia, Kata'ib Hezbollah, and a whole bunch of other groups, right? And they're all Iranian proxies, but they're filled with Iraqi citizens, okay? But again, you have to understand that for a lot of these people here, Iraqi citizen and Iranian citizen, they're Shia. They're Shia, and that means that they're part of like the same nation. You know what I mean? They're part of the same empire. And there's two different kinds of ideologies that is pro-imperialism in Iran. One is this Shia crescent, so bringing back like the Safavid dynasty, and then you have the nationalist ideology that is also for this form of imperialism, which wants to bring back the Sassanid dynasty rather than the Safavid dynasty, right? And they see these Iraqis not as their brothers in Shia Islam. They see these as fake Arabs, okay? They see these as brothers, and as in they're Persian, and they are good. They are their brothers. They're not bad people because they're not Arab. Again, this is according to them.
Yeah.
They're like, just because you speak Arabic, that doesn't make you Arab. You guys are Persian, and this is why a lot of these
Decolonize your mind, bro.
they have again, this is the third okay, so guys, this is the fight between three different empires, okay?
Yeah.
The Islamic Empire, the Persian Empire, and the American Empire, okay? So they're like, Iran is fighting against two empires here, the Islamic Empire and the Western Empire, right? It's very interesting because in Persian they both sound the same, Arabi and Garbi and Arabi and Ebri, which is Zionism, right? So the Ebri, Garbi, they're all just a dot away, and it's so cool. Anyways, but that's too much detail. But what I'm saying is that they think like, so here's the thing: these nationalist Iranians, they think like the true people that they need to hate are the real Arabs, which are the Gulf Arabs, right? Between Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, and all. Those are the real Arabs that they're racist against. And they're like trying to tell these people, guys, you're not really Arab. You're one of us, right? And this is why a lot of these nationalists who are even anti-Islam nationalists, they are getting united with the Islamic government. Even though they hate Islam, they're kind of liking what the Ayatollahs are doing, especially because, like, look, guys, the Iranian government is building schools in Iraq, and they're not just teaching them Islam, they're also teaching them Farsi. They're teaching them Persian. They're bringing them back. They're teaching them how to speak their true language.
Decolonize your mind.
They're decolonizing them. They're bringing them back home. They're bringing them back home. They're bringing back the capital. Recognize that you're Iranian. Just understand your inner Aryans. Let your inner Aryans. Let your inner Aryans speak
It's inside all of us.
It's inside all of us. And guys, and here's another thing they tell them. Okay, they tell guys like, yeah, guys, you're anti-Islam. Don't worry, we're anti-Islam too. Shia Islam is not really Islam. This is like Shia Islam is, don't tell anyone, it's Zoroastrianism. It's like fake Islam.
Thing that they're trying to say.
They're like, it's fake, or it's Zoroastrian, because they're like, they try to impose Islam on us, and we basically, Iranians were so clever that they made like they kept their Zoroastrianism and they hid it in the form of Shiism, and they have so many proofs, like the correcting the like look, these are like Ali represents this in Zoroastrianism, and this in Shia Islam represents this in this. Guys, we're just like we're resisting against Islam, and we kept Zoroastrianism, and we were like pretending like we're Islam so that they leave us alone. This is how we managed to resist against true Islam. Okay, and they're like, here's their main proof. Are you ready for it? Their main proof for this is like, guys, we're the country of kings. We used to be kings, right?
We was kings.
We was kings before Islam, right? And like, look at Shia Islam, okay? Look in Sunni Islam, they have caliphs and stuff, right? Like, like you had Abu Bakr, Umar, Osman. They like, oh my God, they brought it, like they had this democracy. Democracy is a Western concept, okay? Your mind is Westernized, right? But we used to be monarchs. And look at Shia Islam. Who became the Imam after Ali? His son, and then his second son, and then Hussein's son, and then his son. What does that sound like? Does that sound like Sunnism? Does that sound like Islam to you? That sounds like monarchy. The son and the son, it's heredity. This is like, we're bringing back the monarchy. Proof Shia Islam is not real Islam. Anyway, Sunnis, by the way, love that. Sunnis are like, yeah, you're right. Shia Islam is not real Islam. You guys like it.
They be kufr.
Like, this is why anti-Islam Iranians and Sunni Muslims anti-Shia Sunni Muslims could unite in calling Shia Islam fake Islam.
This is like the Always Sunny meme of the guy with the strings on the walls.
Yes.
Like,
all right. Guys saying democracy is not a Western concept. Guys, I'm just telling you what they're saying. God damn it.
So instead, Iran funnels money into militia groups all around the Middle East. Soleimani was very good at doing this, including...
Wait, the money goes directly from here to here as well.
Some in Syria. And some of those in Syria rocket striked Americans and coalition forces in Iraq.
Guys, the proxies are inside Iraq. It doesn't just go this like this to this. Okay, I mean, this happens. Iran has proxies in Syria, but Iran has proxies inside Iraq's government as well. But yeah, this does happen. Iran has many ways of funneling money to places. By the way, with the Soleimani funneling money, what happened? Like one thing Soleimani was really good at. One of the examples was Hamas just flying to Tehran, filling back bags, like suitcases, as much as they could carry with US dollars, and they're just flying back. That was like as straightforward as that. Hamas, Soleimani, like, how much do you need? Like, as much as you can give. Or like, how much can you carry? The limitation was how much dollars can you carry? That was the limitation.
And then, in response, Biden authorized a missile strike against an arms depot controlled by one of these militia groups and killed 22 people. The 22 people that were killed were combatants, to the best of our knowledge. We are not talking about like civilians or contractors. We're talking about militia groups who have been radicalized and funded.
Thank you, Biden.
In part of a campaign against American military interventionism. Yeah. Which, hey, not a big fan of American military interventionism myself. What do we do about that? Well, I'll tell you what we don't do. Okay? I'll tell you what we don't do. This. We don't do this.
What?
We have been in the Middle East broadly.
Hey, yeah.
For like 2 decades now.
Okay.
We have been there for a long time. We have broken previous records that our country has held on long-term military occupation in foreign countries. President after president has promised a removal of our forces from Iraq and from Afghanistan and areas around. And it doesn't happen. It keeps not happening. Troop numbers decrease slightly.
Okay. Yes. You need to get out of there, blah, blah, blah. But what you do while you're there and they attack Americans, okay? I feel like everybody's dodging this because this was such a proper response. Biden's response was proper. They attacked Americans and you need to respond. So you need to respond. And people are like, well, we shouldn't even be there. Okay. Sure. But, Biden promised that he's going to get you out of there. Maybe he's going to keep your promise. Maybe he's not. If he's not able to, if he doesn't, then you could blame him for not keeping a promise, right? But it's his first month. Obviously, he can't get you out there out of there at the first month. It's not that easy. But while he's there, while you have troops there, and again, this was not even a troop. This was a contractor that was injured, right? If they attack Americans, should it go without a response? You could keep talking about the fact that we shouldn't even be there. Okay, that's a separate discussion. You have some good points and you have some not so good points on that. That's a different discussion that we could have. But while you're there, if somebody attacks Americans, should there be a response?
And then troop numbers increase. Again, we lose troops there, but then we put mercenaries in their place.
True.
And there is a reason for that. The reason...
Gotta stay hydrated.
Is because America is not the only country that has an interest in this region. There are other powers, other countries, other resources that would be capable of seizing power in our absence.
Iran's government.
But that does not mean we can draw out an interminable presence in these countries. We cannot continue to squat in the Middle East like helicopter parents.
True. There needs to be a better, less costly response, but we can't abandon it outright as well, right? If you abandon it outright as well, you will force to go back. You are going to get forced to come back at exponentially higher cost. If you completely outright abandon it, there are better ways to intervene than what you're doing right now. Okay? But if you outright abandon it, you have allies in that region. You have Israel, you have Turkey, you have Saudi Arabia. As much as I hate the Saudi government right now, it's a U.S. ally. You should push back against the Saudi government as well, but you can't leave it defenseless. You need to push back against Mohammed bin Salman. You should stop supporting Saudi Arabia against their human rights violations in Yemen. But you can't also leave them completely defenseless against the aggressions by Iran. Okay, it needs to mean something to be a U.S. ally. So yes, you should find better way. You can't just stay there and have troops on the ground. That all needs to slowly change. But that doesn't mean that you can completely abandon it. If you completely abandon Iraq, Iran's government will completely dominate, and the threat and the dominance of the Iranian government and the threat that it is to all U.S. allies in the region, and not just U.S. allies, European allies in the region, will make solving that problem astronomically a higher cost than what I know it's hard to imagine, because you're already paying so much for the cost that it is right now. But dealing with that situation for all Western European countries and North American countries is going to be an impossible thing to solve at that point if you completely abandon it.
Perpetually involving ourselves in their affairs. And there's a very, very clear reason for this, okay? As long as America is present in these countries, these attacks will never stop. Ever.
Okay. Yeah. Get out your troops from the ground there. Do more of Qasem. Again, you know what the solution to this is? More takeouts like Qasem, less troops on the ground, more surgical attacks like taking out Fakhrizadeh and Qasem Soleimani. That's the solution. All right? And also more support for, more proper support for the current government there to get its, shit together, right? So, yes, but again, take the troops out. But while you're there, if they get attacked, there needs to be a response. Can you address that?
Our presence in the Middle East, Iraq, Afghanistan, it doesn't matter. Any presence in the Middle East beyond embassies and military bases in relatively safe zones. Our presence in the Middle East guarantees with absolute certainty violence and death and bloodshed.
Hey, let me actually be clear. Even if you'd remove the troops, United States still needs to have an embassy in Iraq. And the United States embassy in Iraq does require an entire army to protect us. Given
let's be clear.
Let's be clear. Even if, take the troops out of the rest of Iraq as well. But United States needs to have its embassy there. And given how much of a presence Iran has there, given with the existing army, with the level of security that the embassy in the United States had in Iraq, Iranian militias still managed to, in the previous attack, get all the way to places that they shouldn't have. They got a place where they had the embassy staff, only separated by a glass. That's how close the people got to the staff. They managed to burn down, right? So even then, so let's not get crazy. There still needs
Let's not get crazy.
Let's not throw out everything out. You need an embassy there, and that embassy is going to require protection. And given the level of protection that the Iraqi military was able to provide Americans, which was basically none, you can see that American presence needs to be there, at least for the protection of the people, United States staff members that are working there.
Because as long as we are there...
when you say as long as we are there, what I'm saying is that even if you take out all the troops, you still have targets. You still have something for Iranian militia groups to be able to poke out. And that's never going to go away.
Yeah, but
it will be...
in one sense, that is... Our embassies are American soil.
Yes.
So any actions taken there it has a more heightened legitimacy.
Right. But I'm just saying, you still have something I mean, it's going to be less opportunity and less vulnerable, right? But at the end of the day, you still have something for Iran to be able to poke at. And let me just be clear: there are a lot of people in the Iraqi government and in Iraqi civilians that will be begging United States not to leave. Okay,
Oh,
like I'm not saying that makes it okay, because there's also a whole bunch of them that were telling them to get the hell out already. Okay, but don't make it seem like this is like something that Iraqi people are like, oh, United States, get out of it. There will be people, there will be Iraqi citizens and politicians that will be constantly telling American troops that you are leaving us to be taken over by Iran's government if you leave us here alone. I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm not saying that means that United States government should have troops on the ground there forever. But just know that that's also part of the thing that is going to happen. Anyways, let's continue.
States and terrorist groups and militia groups that will send men to die to get us out. And who could blame them?
I can blame them. I blame them.
I volunteerist rebuke.
I
will blame them.
I blame them.
Explain yourself, sir.
Oh my God, guys. Okay, this is not a good take. Unless he says something in the next few seconds that makes it okay. What do you mean? Who can blame them? These are people that are willing to kill civilians to make a point. By the way, these are people that are attacking Americans. A lot of them don't want Americans to leave. Okay, so here's the politic dynamics. Okay, again, this is one example. There are a lot of different examples. It really depends from one group to another, from one proxy group to another. Even within one proxy group, different members might have different interests, right? But one way, for example, one frame of mind is like, the people from Tehran, the mullahs in Tehran, want America to leave so that they could come and dominate Iraq fully. Okay, but the militias that are getting paid from Tehran to keep attacking American, they might not want America to leave. They're like, money is flowing. This is good for business.
Mm-hmm.
Like we need something to shoot at. Don't leave us. Right? Like he's like, don't go behind the walls of your embassy. Like be spread around Iraq. We need easy targets, right? So again, I'm not saying it's as simple as that, but not all of these proxy groups like that are attacking Americans, not all of them want Americans to leave.
America and the Western powers that be have wreaked unfathomable damage to this part of the world and have been for a very long time, since we drew the borders.
True. Again.
Also,
since we
most of my life.
Yes. Yeah, and also, by the way, here's the thing. The response to bad intervention is not no intervention. Okay? The response to bad intervention is good intervention. There is such a thing as good intervention. As citizens of America, Canada, Western European countries, or other countries, you could be like, you know what? I don't want our government to be like sitting back and letting the whole world burn, right? Like, I want them to work together in coalitions and using international agreements rather than going on it alone. We want to be part of the idea that when we said after World War II, never again, we want to be one of those countries that is responsible for actually making that mean something. Okay? So, just because, like, yes, we have a huge history after World War II of really bad intervention. So a lot of people have such a bad taste in their mouth that they can't even imagine good intervention. But it's possible, guys. It's possible to actually do good intervention. I know it's hard for everybody to imagine, but it's possible.
And constantly we have interfered. We interfere through war. We do it, the deposition of leaders. We do it through this is a very complicated subject, but our continued support of Israel in the Middle East is also a very destabilizing factor in that region.
Oh.
See, there it goes.
I'm I mean, if you don't support Israel, okay, so here's the thing. There are good ways to support Israel and there are bad ways to support Israel. You cannot not support Israel. If you completely abandon Israel, like you're leaving the most vulnerable group of people in in a hostile environment. Like, again, when we said never again, we were talking about specifically those people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, you can't just like leave them alone there by their own. Like, I mean, we have done a very good job in bringing Israel's military to a point where it can defend itself a lot. But again, you can't abandon your allies in such a, like, United States doesn't even abandon allies that are not in such a vulnerable position in such a bad neighborhood, right? Like, even with countries like, I mean, think about United States support for South Korea. South Korea is United States allies. South Korea is next to North Korea. So United States are like, you're a U.S. ally, and it needs to mean something that you're a U.S. ally. We back you against North Korea. Why should Israel be any different? Okay, again, I'm not saying that there hasn't been human rights violations by Israel's government and by country and in support of Israel's government. There has been, but that does not mean that Israel shouldn't get any support. Israel, as a U.S. ally, should get the full support of the U.S. government.
And also, I mean, it's the country that is the closest to sharing our values in the region.
In the region, yeah.
We constantly involve ourselves in this part of the world, and all it has begotten, all it has produced is blood. The Middle East right now is no more stable than it was 20 years ago. ISIS was on us. ISIS came about because all of the dejected young men who lived in the bombed out ruins of the wasteland we created were subjected to similar radicalizing forces that alt-righters over here in the West get subjected to. We know what ISIS propaganda looks like. And you know what? I don't blame them for being upset.
Wait, what?
Let him finish.
Blame them for that, how they handle their upsetness.
Oh, okay. Okay, so first of all, if you actually, oh my god. So here's the thing. Here's the bad take from all sides, okay? We have bad takes from people who want to reduce everything that about Al-Qaeda and ISIS to nothing to do with their ideology and everything to do with economic grievances and the things that the West has done. Okay? Geopolitics, okay? And that is not accurate. But then we also have people on our side who are also have a very simplistic, naive take. The people who are anti-Islam like us, who make it all about ideology and completely independent from what the Western countries have done or the economic situation and the grievances that people might have that is independent from their ideology. Both of these simplistic views are inaccurate, okay? And again, this is not proof, but just might help you to give you a frame of understand, like something to refer to. Again, don't treat this as proof, but we have many Muslims in the United States and in Canada, and even in like many Muslims in Islamic countries. The vast majority of Muslims, the people who do these extreme things are a very tiny fringe of Muslims, right? So if this was only because of Islam, then you would see a lot more Muslims do this, right? The fact that you see Muslims in countries like Iraq or Syria behave differently than Muslims elsewhere makes it quite clear that it's not just Islam, okay? So economic situations and grievances over geopolitics and interventions and failed states obviously has an influence, okay? But you also see failed states and economic countries with a lot of U.S. intervention or economic grievances that also don't have radical movements like this, right? Like Cambodia, like one of the countries that was harmed by imperialism and U.S. intervention the most, right, was Cambodia. Like the amount of crimes, like I don't know why how many people don't even know what United States did to Cambodia. It was like one of the worst human rights violations that United States has done against people that like had nothing to do with anyone. Like here's like, hey, let's just screw over Cambodia. Like guys, like I'm not. It might seem like this is too simplistic, but like there was no reason to screw over Cambodia, like not even strategic reason. Like sometimes like you may like humanitarian reasons, it doesn't make any sense, but at least you could see the strategy. Like no, when it comes to Cambodia, what the United States did to Cambodia is just like unbelievably pointless, and unbelievably the human misery that came out of that is astronomically high, and most Americans don't even know about this, right? Because who cares about Cambodia, I guess, right? This is what like it's not on the news and stuff. But you can see like radical movements, like you don't see the same radicalism growing out of that, right? So it's like Islam is a factor, okay? Islam is definitely a factor, but is it inaccurate to say United States has a role when it comes to the creation of Al-Qaeda and ISIS? No, it's not inaccurate. It's true. Here's the thing. These two don't contradict each other. Without United States, you wouldn't have Al-Qaeda. Without United States influence and intervention, you wouldn't have ISIS. Is that true? Yes, it's true. It was United States intervention that is responsible for creation of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. That's a true statement. Here's another true statement. Without Islam, you wouldn't have radical groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Is that a true statement? That is also a true statement. These two statements are not a contradiction, and they're not mutually exclusive. It's so amazing to me that so many people are debating each other as like, no, it's United States intervention, no, it's Islam, no, it's ideology. Oh, no, it's economic grievances, no, it's the geopolitical side, like no, it's radical ideologies and stuff like that. As if they're arguing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's so simple. Like guys, like it's like you look at a car going forward. Somebody like, oh, it's the wheels. Somebody says it's the engine. Like, oh, take out the wheels. It's not going to go forward. So it must be the wheels. Oh, take out the engines. It's not going to go forward. So it must be the engine. Like, yeah, it's not going to go forward without either. But go on. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you're correct, because we can see through, and sociologists and historians have well documented this, that insecurity in a region breeds religiosity. We know this. We know that insecurity breeds religiosity. So it's both and, right? It's yes and.
It's cyclical.
And this is why we see that the more secure. Don't tell me to hurry up. You just had your spiel.
No. I said it's this is not hurry up. You're right. It's cyclical. Yeah. This was me saying it's cyclical. I was confirming what you're saying. I wasn't saying hurry up.
You're giving me the wrap it up signal.
I said it's cyclical. Religion causes poverty. Poverty causes religion. That's what this meant.
Yeah, and this is why we see that the more secure a nation gets, the more it is secularized, like we see in Nordic states, for example.
Right. Good to go.
I blame him real hard.
It's International Women's Day. I have to get your permission.
But you really surprised that you're going to create terrorist groups by just ruining swaths of land, decimating them, destroying their economy, and then leaving them
Wait, can you pause? I do want to point out one thing, though. So, like, yes, there is this symbiotic relationship, right? However, some of the very specific things about ISIS, for example. Oh shoot, I said it.
No, he's saying it, but we should say it.
Okay, you're right. Do come down to the fundamentals of Islam. Like, let's
Right.
not make a mistake. It makes me really frustrated when people talk about the situation that led up to the Iranian Revolution, right? And
Right.
then so they're basically essentially blaming the US for how Iran is now. And I'm like, we can talk about, US intervention or whatever that led to the revolution, but you would not see very specific things that are so terrible about Iran if the fundamentals of Islam were not terrible, right?
Right.
Like, we do need to be. I always want to say that. Like,
Right. So yeah, actually, going to your point, he says, look at their propaganda to see why they hate us. Actually, you know what? Do that. Search for. Wait, actually, I could do this right now, right? Why they hate us? Was it ISIS or Al Qaeda? Like their propaganda. Okay, go read exactly. Yeah, just search for this. Search for why they hate us and ISIS. Okay, and see and read the first things that comes up. And this is what what you're gonna find. ISIS telling you in a letter.
mm-hmm.
They tell you in their own words why they hate you. Okay, these are. And you could see the people, the people that are the founders of movements, of the ideology that led to ISIS and Al Qaeda. And guess what? It has nothing to do with economic grievances. Okay. However, here's the thing. I'm not saying that's true, even though that's what they say. Okay. So because they claim if you read their writings, they say like, you think that we're upset because you bomb us, because you ruined our countries and stuff like that, and like, no, we hate you because of who you are.
Infidels.
You're infidels, right? Like, you could stop everything you're doing and we're still coming for you. Okay, we're still gonna end you. Okay. However, so again, the people who are anti-Islams and they want to reduce this to just being the influence of Islam, they go point to these writings of the main influencers of the books, of the founders of these ideologies, and they're like, look, this is proof that it's Islam, it's the ideology, and it's not the economic grievances. However, it's not proof, because this only shows that it's a major factor. Because as much as the leaders of these movements want to make it so that this is about Islam and it's about fighting the infidels, they're not going to be able to recruit people if people are happy with their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, see, like, look, I'm being honest with you guys, because as an atheist anti-Islam channel, it would be better for me to be like, it would be in our propaganda, it would be in our motivation to be like, guys, it's just Islam. It's just Islam. It's nothing else, right? But I'm telling you that people who are Muslim, who have happy, fulfilling lives, that have careers, okay, that have schools, that have peace, that have security, even if they're Muslim, Islam is not going to be a major influence on their life, okay? This is
That's not a
dunya
rule.
versus akhirah.
That's
No,
not a rule, but
it's an average, okay? An average, okay? You know the Muslim fundamentalists that say that you to radicalize these people, you need to focus on akhirat over dunya. You need to like make Muslims care about afterlife rather than this life. Those Muslim fundamentalists, they're right, right? To make these people not radical, you have to make this life, the dunya, win over the akhirat. Make the dunya better for Muslims. Make them happy about their lives. And Islam would become again, Islam is a factor, but Islam would be less of a factor if you make these Muslims' lives better. Anyways.
The petty shadow governments that we can afford to prop up over there? Of course this shit's going to happen. You think ISIS is the beginning? If ISIS dies, and I mean fully dies, the whole thing, the dream of the caliphate, if it all goes to shit, there will be another one
Well,
in 2 years.
Okay, he doesn't know about the tenets of Islam then.
What do you mean? I mean, I think he's right about this one. I mean, ISIS is just a rebranding of the underlying ideas that is just popping up here and there. Like if you
That's
remove
what I'm
ISIS,
saying. He's saying like if the dream of the caliphate dies, I'm
Mhm.
like that's not going to happen because that's
oh,
it's a part of Islam. So that's really what he's saying.
well, it's part of Sunni Islam. The dream of the caliphate.
Yeah,
The
but
Shia-
that's the vast majority of Muslims.
Right. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but he contradicted himself, right? He said if the dream of the caliphate dies, it's going to pop out again, so it's not going to die.
He dies, the whole thing, the dream of the caliphate, if it all goes to shit, there will be another one in 2 years.
So it didn't go, like it's not going to die because again, ISIS, Al Qaeda, there's some underlying grievances and values. Again, grievances plus values that is still there. Every time you remove one of these groups, it's just going to emerge itself with a new branding at some point. So you need to just get rid of both. So again, here's the thing. This is a good way of categorizing it, right? It's underlying values plus grievances. Values plus grievances, right? That is making these groups keep popping up, okay? So dealing with the grievances is government's jobs. Dealing with the values is our job, right? We are the activists. I don't want the governments to come and get involved in like so there's two solutions to this, and it needs to be attacked from two sides, right? The grievance mostly, like not all, right? The grievances needs to be a bottom top-down approach where governments and international coalitions come create enough stability for people to be able to progress and create fulfilling lives. The values part, you can't have a top-down approach when it comes to fixing that. The values part needs to be active, activists, podcasts, YouTubers, books, in Arabic, in Persian. That needs to be a bottom-up approach. This is recreating the Enlightenment movement that happened in Western Europe in the 1800s. This whole Enlightenment movement, okay, that happened in Western Europe, Ataturk and Reza Shah tried to replicate that from a top-down approach, and it backfired. And Islam came back in full force, much stronger than it was before, right? So what Ataturk and Reza Shah didn't understand when they were trying to replicate the Enlightenment movement from Western Europe is that the Enlightenment movement, the politicians changed their tune once it was enough ground support for these ideas. You can't just force secularism on people. It's a contradiction to force secularism on people, right? And yeah, so this is why we have a podcast, by the way, check that out, called Secular Jihadists and Enlightenment for a moment. Wait, what is the subtitle? I forgot the subtitle.
What's the name of my podcast? I've been doing
What's the name of the podcast?
Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment.
For a Muslim Enlightenment. Yeah, guys. Yes, but this makes
Ali
sense.
Rizvi's like,
My co-host Ali Rizvi, check it out, guys.
It's like forgetting your girlfriend's name. Like, what the hell?
Shh. Nobody tell Ali Rizvi.
There will be another one in 2 years. These are not problems that we can fix through occupation. There is exactly one way of fixing this problem, this Middle East problem.
Ooh, here comes the solution. It's going to solve the Middle East.
How long have leaders in America been saying they're cautiously optimistic about the state of the Middle East? I saw a political cartoon about that. I don't know if it was the New Yorker or something, but I swear to God, it must have been 30 or 40 years old. And it was something like presidential administration after presidential administration after presidential administration, cautiously optimistic about the state of the Middle East. How long are we going to do this? 2040, 2050, 2060? The rest of the world, we have bullet trains and monorails, waves, crash against the shores of the Philippines as climate change raises the sea level. And all the while, we're still in Afghanistan and Iraq. All the while, we're still posturing with Iran. There is one solution. We prop up their governments.
Hey, that wasn't that bad, actually. This is not a anti-interventionist approach.
Not us. We don't do it. We don't keep troops in there. But we provide the government of Iraq, the state, the resources necessary to prop themselves up.
This plus not troops on the ground presence, but intelligence presence, special on tactical units, like, SEALs, like special ops, surgical removal of key figures approach, like in combination with what he's saying together. I think that's a slowly moving towards that. I think that's a good answer, actually.
I would like you to read this comment.
Again, Susanna proved why women should be CEOs. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna be fuck. This is gonna go. This is gonna go against me, my alpha credentials.
Oh boy.
But I think there might be, we might at some point see proof that women are better at management inherently. Okay. Okay, I think it might be true. Okay. However, let me adjust this by saying
Shuvo, who's Susanna again?
Let me adjust this by saying that if women are better at management, and if that's what data shows at some point, again, I'm not sure, that means that men are also better at many things than compared to women. Okay. However, it might at some point be proven that women being in a position of authority and management makes more sense. Okay. So there.
It was really cute when so guys, we have consulates everywhere. No, Maggie, say it, honey. When I joined the Cairo consulate, the Atheist Republic Cairo consulate, I made a little post saying hi, and then people were posting memes about it, and they translated it for me in Arabic, but they basically made a meme about the Islamic scripture that says any country led by a woman will fail. And they were like, "Oh yeah, well, they didn't anticipate Susanna." I love that number so much.
Yeah,
they even translated it for me because they tagged me in the post. I'm like, I don't know what this says.
That's funny. All right, let's continue.
There is the greatest destabilizing factor. And I know what some of you are saying and thinking. You're saying and thinking this was just retaliation. They killed a civilian contractor with a rocket strike.
Right.
They injured an American serviceman. They injured coalition personnel.
Yes.
We were justified in our retaliation. And you know what?
Yeah.
There is actually debate in the legal community as to whether or not that airstrike was a violation of international law. Because
he says that there might be justification for it. Susie, this is a leftist channel saying that this is actually the best take we've seen so far. He's admitting that there might actually be justification for it.
He's very skeptical about it.
That's pretty good. Oh, I just spit.
Is that's determined by a wide number of factors: the likelihood of retaliation, the degree to which the retaliatory strike was a proportionate response. There's a lot that goes into that. I read up on some of it before stream. I was expecting a hard yes or no answer, but I can't give it to you. There's discourse, but I'm not.
My God, this is okay. I'm not. Whew, this is so far the best new. I'm impressed. I have not seen it take this skeptical and nuanced on any left-leaning or right-leaning channel so far.
Not interested here in legality. The law allows great leeway for injustice. And you know what? Let's say, I'll even take the military industrial complex aside on this. Let's for the sake of argument, okay?
Wow.
Let's say it was a justified retaliation. Like, let's say it was a completely legitimate. They killed only militants. They attacked an arms depot. I mean, they didn't kill any kids, as far as we know.
Unlike what Paul Joseph Watson would tell you.
Does that work? Does that make it good? Does that make it bad? I'll tell you this much.
Come on. So far, so good.
We're perpetuating the problem.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But can you isolate this event for a second?
Forever. Maybe. This is an
Wait, what is this guy saying in the live chat? Look at this. Have you read about how Iranian revolution happened? Oh my God, of course
It used to be relatively democratic and progressive country, but then we cooed them for oil, which effed them over, and then
oh my God. Yes, everybody now knows this. Like how? Okay, yeah, Vaush doesn't know that. Of course.
Was I born yesterday?
It's been going on for decades, but we're in their part of the world. Sure, you can send a retaliatory missile strike. Maybe you only kill militants. Maybe you only kill evil.
Proximity doesn't really, I know in the world today, does it really matter how close you are? Like, are you, if for example...
Of course, a globalist like you would say something like that.
Yes, I am a globalist, and I don't understand this. If somebody was committing genocide in North America and United States was getting involved, would that be more justified than if somebody was committing genocide in Iraq and United States gets involved just because that's closer? I don't know. I understand what the proximity of how does the proximity makes it an issue, right? I mean, even the United States is so far away, yeah, but you have your allies all over the place. And United States, oh my God, should I do a Godwin? I'm going to do a Godwin. Would you? Okay, I know it's a Godwin. Come at me. It's a Godwin. Okay. Wouldn't you be like when Adolf was attacking? It was when Poland, and then he took over France, and then the United Kingdom wanted help. Shouldn't you be like, well, we're in North America. That's Europe. That's your part of the world. I don't understand. Again, I know this is not comparable. I'm just trying to isolate what is being said here. And I know this is a very extreme example, but I just wanted to make the point about what, I mean, I'm not saying that it's justified to intervene all the time, but I don't understand how this proximity to the events makes a difference.
Full men. Wonderful. But they'll bomb you again. They'll find another rocket. They'll find a way. They'll find an IED. They'll find a way to kill more American servicemen. They'll kill more civilian contractors. And then what are you going to do?
Respond every time. Because they respond every time. Every time they attack your citizens, you respond. That's what you do. That's your government. You have Americans, even if you pull your troops out, you're going to have American citizens outside of U.S. borders all over the globe. You're going to have, even if you don't have troops, you have tourists. They're everywhere. There are many Americans that live outside of America. If they attack Americans, you know what you're going to do as a U.S. government? You respond every single time. Of course you do. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to protect Americans. Imagine if they attack Americans and you don't respond. What does that mean? That means Americans outside of the United States borders are just up for the taking? Are you just going to make Americans just be like sitting ducks everywhere around the planet? If you're like, what are you going to do? You're like, oh yeah, if you respond to this, well then you're going to attack again. What do you do next? If they attack again, you respond again.
Are you going to airstrike again? Are you going to create more widows? Are you going to create more fatherless children who are going to...
Yeah, yes, you are going to create more widows and fatherless children if the fathers of those children were Iranian militia who are killing civilians. Yes, it's really sad for the wife and for the child, okay? But guess what? That militia guy wasn't just killing other militia. That militia guy was killing civilians. So yes, it's very sad that you're creating orphans, But that militia guy, if you're an Iranian militia, if you're part of Ex-Shia or Kataib Hezbollah, you being taken out was not a loss for the world. It was a net positive. Is that controversial to say? Like, is that really, like, am I saying something that is like insensitive to say, like, if you're part of like Ex-Shia and somebody takes you out?
I mean, given what some of these groups do to Sunni villagers, which no one really talks about, like, yeah.
And to grow up hating the United States? There is no solution to this.
Growing up to hate the United States? Okay, but what about the Iraqis and Iranians who are grateful? Okay, for example, like so I mean, I'm not saying this justifies it, but if you're using this line of reasoning, then the other side is true as well, because you say like, oh, you're taking this and that, and now you have orphans that are hating America. Well, guess what, Vaush? When your government took out Qasem Soleimani, most Iranians were grateful. So that's the other side as well.
Children who are going to grow up hating the United States? There is no solution to this that involves retaliation. Retaliation is not the way we fix this problem.
This is not okay. This is not a fixing of the problem. This is not. This is you just having to do the bare minimum that the government is supposed to do when they attack Americans. Okay. Yes, this is a longer term problem that needs a lot better solutions. But while you have this problem, like this is like, okay, if somebody breaks into your house, okay, and they're about to go and attack your wife and children, okay, and you have a gun, right? You could reach out for your gun and start going out and start shooting at the people that are attacking your wife and children, okay? And then after maybe you defend yourself and call the cops, maybe you could be like, okay, the longer term solution is to install better security around my house. Like, I'm going to put cameras, I'm going to install a fence, I'm going to like get doors that are not able to be broken like they were when the people broke into my house, okay? You could be like, this is a longer term solution. But you don't do that when somebody attacks your wife and children. You don't be like, when they're like going up the stairs and they're about to go like attack them, you're like, you know what? Me shooting them is not going to be a long-term solution. I'm just going to, while they're doing that, I'm just going to go online and look at better security for my house. Like, let me see what ADT has. Like, that's bad, but I need longer-term solution. When they're attacking your citizens, look for longer-term solutions. But when they attack your citizens, you need to respond.
So to me, is this airstrike justified? I don't even care. To me, that's not even the real question here. The question is whether we have our eyes on the prize. The question is whether or not we're acknowledging the fact that whether or not this airstrike was justified is at best an auxiliary question. It is tangential. It is secondary. It is
okay, fine. Yes, it's secondary. But can you acknowledge that this was a okay? So he knows that this was a good response, but it's unpopular to say that this was a good response. So he's just saying it's like tangential and secondary, which is true. It is secondary. You need longer term solution. But right now, everybody is talking about whether this was a good strike or not, and everybody is like attacking Biden for it. Can you tell us whether or not this was a good strike? I mean, he technically said it, but I think he's like lowering the damage that he might get from his community by saying that this is like secondary. I mean, well, which is technically true.
Is to the side. Nothing that is happening in the Middle East is just. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people have died.
Can you? I would love it if you guys blame also the Iranian government and Turkey's role and other intervention, not just like, yes, a lot of things that are happening in Syria and Iraq and in Yemen and in Lebanon are extremely unjust, very unjust, okay? And yes, United States is responsible for a lot of these crimes. Okay, but it would be nice. It would be so great if you could also acknowledge. I mean, you do guys these guys do acknowledge the role of Saudi Arabia, so thank you for that. But it would be so wonderful if once in a while you could also mention how destructive of an influence the intervention of Iran's government has been, and also Turkey to some extent, but mostly Iran's government.
In Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, it's a part of ISIS, which only came about because of us. Millions of people have died. What here is justice? Where is the justice?
Nobody's
The
saying.
justice is us pulling.
Well, I mean, who's claiming that this response by Biden in response to attacking Americans was supposed to be bringing justice to all of them? This was a solution to fixing everything in the Middle East. Like, that's like, was that a claim by anybody? Like, the Biden administration, like, oh yeah, they attacked Americans, and now we're going to retaliate because they attacked Americans, and this retaliation is going to bring peace in the Middle East, and we're going to be done. Yeah, this is going to be it. We're going to show the Iranian government that we're not going to let them attack our Americans, and they will never attack us again, and this is going to be it. You're welcome. Biden administration solved everything in the Middle East.
Here's what we do. It's not easy, but it's what we need to do.
I mean, I'm being very picky, I know, but I mean, his take is still better. Like, his take is pretty good on average, okay? I'm just being picky, okay? But overall, so far, so good.
Because if you don't do this, you will be committed for all time to an interminable back and forth of justified military aggression versus terrorist attack on U.S. forces. That will be the rest of American history right there. Forever. A constant back and forth. And every 6 months, Americans get to go, woo, we blew up another arms depot.
Okay, here's the thing. The back and forth will be there forever, and you're never going to stop that. It's about reducing it rather than eliminating it. Okay? It's about the level of going back and forth, not about as long as you have Americans outside of United States borders, this back and forth will be there to some extent. It's about reducing it, not eliminating it. So don't treat it as like a black and white thing.
And then the next 3 months are them attacking us, and we go back and forth, people dying, nothing gets solved. Here's what we do. Simple as this. We do everything in our power to remove our presence from the Middle East. The only part of the Middle East I was okay with Americans being involved in was us propping up Rojava because there was a lot to that. Okay.
Support Israel. Here's the thing, guys. We hate Saudi's government here. Okay. Support the Kurds. Support Israel. But even here's how pragmatic we are. As much as we want the Biden administration to go all out aggressive against MBS and do everything they can to remove all military support for Saudi Arabia and all of that, we still think that it doesn't make sense for the United States government not to defend Saudi Arabia. As much as we hate their government, it doesn't make sense for the United States government not to defend Saudi Arabia against Iran's aggression. Okay? So there needs to be intervention beyond just defending his favorite anarchists.
But in Iraq and Afghanistan, we pull out and we pay into these countries to the greatest possible extent, because I don't want Iraq and Afghanistan to just fall apart when we leave. And there's a very
this is amazing that he's saying this guy is supposed to be a non-interventionist, anti-military industry commie, and as much as I am being like picky about some of his takes, he's one of the biggest left-leaning channels out there, and he's telling his audience that we still need to we can't completely abandon these countries. They're gonna fall apart. That's amazing.
I know you were exaggerating, but he's not a commie.
I know. I'm saying supposed to be.
Like according to who?
According to right-leaning people, like full-on woke commie, which he's not. He's not even woke, right?
He gets in a lot of trouble, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, But I mean, I'm glad like that. There's such a big channel is telling people, such a giant audience that we can't just abandon these countries outright. So that's pretty good, actually.
Very real threat, by the way. There's a very, very, very real threat, by the way, of that happening. That's a legitimate threat. You don't want to create a power vacuum. If you create a power vacuum, then things get worse than they were before, and things they don't improve. Okay.
True, and the power vacuum is going to be filled with the Islamic Republic of Iran.
You remove yourself, and you stabilize these governments.
Okay, so if you want to do that, that is really, really, really hard, okay, to stabilize these governments, okay? So you can't be like, hurry up, Biden, because what are you going to do? Are you going to remove yourself, then stabilize this government? Because removing yourself before stabilizing these governments is contradictory, because it's going to fall apart as soon as you remove yourself before you stabilize these governments, right? So if you want to first stabilize these governments and then remove yourself, that's gonna take a lot of work. Like that is not that simple. So if that is your plan, Vaush, then if Biden doesn't pull out the troop in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, even 10 years, you can't be that mad then if that is your solution. Because very smart people have been trying to stabilize these governments for a very long time. So, okay, sure, stabilize these governments before you pull out, but it's not that easy.
Or you provide arms, and you provide service, and you provide money.
Okay, you can't just provide arms and money without stabilization, because guess what? They be corrupt, and they be so corrupt that money and arms is not gonna go to the hands of the people that are gonna make the country a better place. So
also,
you can't
need to
just
teach people how to use it.
Yeah, but like this has been happening. A lot of the money and arms that United States supports countries like even Pakistan, that's supposed to be like stable ally, but I said like they go into the wrong hands and they don't benefit the people. Okay, so if you can't just we're going to remove ourselves and just going to support you with money and arms. Well, great job. You're now supporting the most radical groups there that are destabilizing the region, because they know how to make sure that the money and the arms are going to end up in their hands. The level of corruption, like guys, the level of corruption in these countries and their politics is unbelievably high. Like the money that we're talking about that has went missing, like every time I look at their reports on how much money just disappears, they're astronomical, ungodly amount of money that they're like, where did it go? And like, who has this? Or like,
oh baby,
what? Like, they're like, guys, this is not a couple of $1 billion. This is like the budget of entire countries. Where is this just an accounting mistake? Like, where is it? Like, who what? Like, it just disappears. It's just like nobody has any clue who has the money. It just goes to and then you wonder where are these radical groups getting all their money? Well, because of it's American taxpayers. Okay, the corruption is crazy high. So even if you want to remove yourself and just support them with money, you can't support them with money unless you fix the corruption. How are you going to fix the corruption if you don't have? You need to build connections. And guess what, guys? United States have very little connection with the politicians and the people who matter and the people that know how the traditions and the culture and the nuances and the ground works. You know who knows this information? You know who has the connections and the cultural experience and all the nuances? Iran's government, Iran's militia, they know how this stuff works. So it's not that easy. So if you can't, it's complicated.
Can hear that beeping? Should I close the... Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could hear it. I thought it was me.
And you provide money to their service forces. Yep. You try to make...
You know, we tried that before ISIS, right? United States Obama was all of that the most expensive machinery and ammunition that was given to Iraqi government.
Yeah.
That Obama tried to support the Iraqi government. You know who eventually managed to take all of that?
Yeah.
ISIS. It all ended up, not all actually. It ended up in the hands of ISIS. So this was tried. This what you're saying was tried.
Maybe form a coalition defense force within the Middle East. That's something I'd be interested in seeing. I know there's a lot of conflict in that region, but maybe some sort of pan-Middle Eastern solution. Vaush, I swear we've been doing that. We've been trying.
Oh yeah, somebody left it. Yes, Vaush, I swear we've been doing it. Yeah, some people know.
To do that, and it's not working.
Yeah, because it's
so
not
we
easy.
Need to try harder.
Okay, Vaush. I have the solution. I have the simple. Okay, this is bad. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to go. Vaush is saying, here I have a solution, and the people in his life chat like, well, we have been doing that.
Trying.
People in his life chat were like, that's exactly what we tried to do. And like, okay, here's my second solution. Do exactly what I just said. Just try harder. Somebody send a memo to the United States government. Do exactly what you tried to do before, but harder.
I love it.
We need to leave. The complexities of this are...
I don't think we're invested hard enough, actually.
So I'm going to make a promise to you guys, okay? I'm going to do some
so I think
research.
Look, and he realizes that he doesn't know enough. Okay, let's acknowledge that. He's not saying it, but he's he just
sentence. I want to see what he says.
Look, the complexities of this
he just came
are incredibly nuanced.
Right.
So I'm going to make a promise to you guys, okay? I am going to do some research, and I am going to come up with a Middle East solution.
Okay. I look forward to this because this is going to give us more content to respond to. However, I think around here he said, guys, the solution is simple. And it's very simple. And then he gave a solution, and people told him, well, we tried this and it didn't work.
We be trying, but.
And then he said, well, we're going to have to do this harder. And now he's like, okay, the complexities of this. He just went from saying the solution is simple and then to saying that the complexities to this is huge. So which is it? Is it the solution is simple or the complexities is huge? And I mean, I think to give credit to him, he just realized very fast that he doesn't have an answer, and he needs to do more research. So I'm trying to be charitable, so kudos to that.
Best of my knowledge and my abilities. I want to see what money we put in to these countries. I want to see where it goes. I want to see how it's used. I want to see the available service personnel of the Iraqi government.
Good.
I want to see anything that can be done, anything and everything, any amount of money, any amount of resources necessary.
Yes,
because there's no ceiling to how much money we should be willing to spend to fix this problem.
What? That's pretty okay. That is amazing. There's no ceiling that how much about so he's saying wow.
That's a lot of intervention.
That's a lot of intervention. There's no ceiling and how much money we should be willing to invest in this to fix this. That's a very different take from most leftists. This is like the only left. That's amazing. I mean, I am pro-intervention, and I think there should be a ceiling. I mean, as much as I've been attacking people who are non-interventionists, I think there should be a ceiling. I don't know. I think he's going more interventionist than I am. Amazing.
Are you literally suggesting you're going to solve the Middle East? What, do you think I can do all this? No, I want to be able to confidently suggest a solution.
I think a lot of people don't recognize like when he's joking.
Because I believe there is one.
I think this is why a lot of people don't recognize in my live chat as well. When I say like, I have the solution to everything. Like people don't know that that's like satire.
I do. I refuse to succumb to this pathetic, dejected belief that there's nothing that can be done about this problem we created in large part. I sincerely believe that if with an appropriately intelligent and well-cultivated plan executed by good personnel, by good elected officials, it would be possible to remove ourselves from the Middle East, which would prevent further radicalization and prevent further military action in a way that stabilizes the governments that we leave behind and prevents a power vacuum.
He should talk to me. I have some good suggestions.
I believe it. And if I do a bunch of research and I think and I find that that can't be done, that it's not possible, that no matter how much money we spend right now, the timetable just will not work, it cannot happen, then I will make that segment anyway, and I will eat my hat. Allegorically, I will not eat a hat, but I will say I was wrong. I can't think of a solution.
Yeah, okay, so it might be that this is like the situation that we have is hard, like it's very hard to get out of, or maybe even impossible, right? However, I hope like more people think about this whole situation less as in black and white. Like a lot of people think like there's a fix to this. Like there's either we completely solve everything there and there's no misery and no attacks and these countries are going to be stable and people are going to or everything is going to be total chaos and the sky is going to fall and it's always going to be hell on earth in the Middle East. I hope people can, instead of thinking like there's either one or the other, could think of like think in terms of how could we make things less horrible, right? Like maybe if you think like that, because if people wash their hands off like, okay, things are bad, things are horrible, so screw it, like they look at everything in binary terms, right? But if you look at like, you know what, there are interventions that you could do that could make things will still be horrible, but they would be less horrible things would be horrible for a much less number of people if you do this instead of this. Right? And if you get your mindset out of that black and white thinking, I think you're going to come up with more nuanced solutions to this whole mess.
And I'll own that. I'll own that. When I talk to leftists, I'll say it too. I'll talk to lefties and I'll say, yeah, no, I legitimately don't think that this like anti-war posturing is doing us any good. I don't. I think that we have to stay involved internally in the Middle East. I don't want to believe that. I don't believe that right now. But
kudos to thinking that's a possibility, like exercising the fact that might be a possibility.
I'll own that if that ends up being what the research finds.
What?
Does that make sense? Eyes on the prize, people.
I think this may be a good place for us
what is or is not legitimate or
no,
justified.
I think it's going to get juicy.
Not
He's going to
good retaliation. It all comes down to whether or not we can fix the problem for good. We're not talking Band-Aid solutions.
Hold on.
We're talking, I want the Middle East, not just Dubai or Israel. I want the entirety of the Middle East to be, when I die, as wealthy and vibrant a nation they could be with their size and population.
Hey, he just said he wants Israel to be wealthy.
I want people to think of the Middle East as the new Scandinavia, with vibrant social democracies, robust civil rights.
It was getting there if it wasn't
rates.
for Ghazali.
I want a Middle East where when we get news about death happening within the borders of Afghanistan, it's shocking.
Well, maybe do that first for
where Iraq and Iran just dislike each other rather than constantly posture warfare with each other.
Iran and Iraq?
Maybe we can fix that.
What are you talking about? Oh my God.
That's what I want.
Iran and Iraq are allies.
Vaush, most online lefties would call you a neoliberal warmonger for supporting aid to the Middle East.
True.
Idiots. What do they think is going to happen if they just let these countries collapse on themselves when they leave?
Right?
True.
They're taken over by ISIS, or worse. You think ISIS is the worst it can get? I think you would, wouldn't
Iran,
you? No.
Islamic Republic is the worst.
If we pulled out, if we allowed these countries to destabilize, you know what would happen within 10 years? Guaranteed. You know what would happen within 10 years?
Shia domination.
I bet you more than anything. America pulls out with no exit strategy, no long-term plan for supporting these countries.
Shia domination.
These countries fail, and they turn into,
worse.
I mean, we're talking Cambodia level. We're talking fields of corpses. China will come in with boots on the ground and fix their problems. And there'll
Worse than China, Islamic Republic of Iran will come and commit anti-Sunni genocide.
Chinese vassal states for the next century.
That would be an improvement compared to Iran's vassal states.
Almost guaranteed. That's what happens with the power
The
vacuum.
more likely for them to become Iran's vassal states. See, I'm not pausing so we could get over this fast.
Tankies would like that? Yeah, I'm sure. Vaush, you're completely ignoring religious fundamentalist movements that are not motivated by U.S. intervention, but by cringe tradition. The countries will always be fucked. And I say we have a Kraut fan. No, this is in a low IQ position. The only thing that's always fucked here is your cognitive processes.
Oh my God.
The idea that people are just naturally gravitating towards extremism and, oh, the military intervention, the bombing, the dead families, that's just a coincidence. It's because the Book of Islam. No. Muslims in America are well integrated and generally moderate.
God damn it. Islam has an influence. It's not an all or none. Islam, yes, United States military intervention and all the other fucked up shit that they have done has an influence, but Islam is also an influence.
Nothing wrong with Islam, at least no more so than...
Wait, there's nothing wrong with Islam?
Oh,
rated generally moderate. There's nothing wrong with Islam, at least no more so than any other major religion. No more so...
Okay. All other major religions are shit religions. They all are a major source of problem, but Islam is the worst because Islam is inherently more political than all of them combined. Like it's all of them are a major source of destruction, but Islam is the most powerful source for government intervention. It's the most perfectly designed ideology for that.
And then by the way, you know it's Christianity that's destroying the world right now, right? Christians right here who operate the American government are the ones who are leading the flagship towards climate disaster. They are.
That's true. That's true. But again, so wait a minute. So hold on. Does Susie, does Christianity have an influence over that?
yeah.
Okay. So if we can acknowledge that Christianity has an influence over how destructive Christians are when it comes to global warming and stuff like that, why can't we acknowledge that Islam has an influence on how destructive Islamic organizations and governments are?
Well, he did say that it has an influence, but no more than any other major religion.
Okay, but it's like, but he was maybe suggesting that it has no influence, no?
No,
so but this is like a whataboutism because
no more than any other major religion.
So then that proves the point that his live chat was making, because this is like if he's agreeing that Christianity has an influence over how destructive these Western Republicans are when it comes to fucking the planet, then that means religion has a role. So why can't Islam have a role over how destructive these groups are?
They are the ones who are steering this planet into the only difference is that Christians as a whole in America are wealthy and powerful enough that they can do damage without having to rely on arms sales, that they can do damage without having to rely on individually putting themselves in harm's way. You can do 1,000,000 times more damage to the world in a suit behind a desk than you ever could holding an AK-47 assembling an IED while an American van rolls around the next mountain pass.
See, so here's a good analogy for you, okay, Susie? So the amount of damage that the GOP is doing to the planet is both the influence of politics and the power they have and the religion they have. Okay, so for example, the Christians in Mexico or the Christians in Philippines are not having their Christian ideology is not as destructive to the planet as the Christians in the GOP. Okay, so yes, politics has a role, because if it was just religion and if it was not power and influence and politics, then these other Christians would have the same level of destruction, and they don't. The GOP is being more destructive to the planet than these other Christians. So yes, politics and socioeconomic factors has an influence, but so is Christianity, because if the GOP was not this moronic, this religious, they would be less destructive. So Christianity also has a role. Right. So similarly, in these radical, like Iran's government being authoritarian, the geopolitical situation at the time, at that place in Iraq, with ISIS, with Hezbollah in Lebanon and everywhere. Yes, the fact that they're being the intervention by the United States has had a very destructive influence of what the situation is at that place. But without Islam, the problem would be less damaging. Yes, it will still be bad, but if you remove religion from the equation, it would be less. It would be less of a. There will be less misery. There will still be misery because of the bad policies by Western countries, but there will be less misery. It's not but the Islam has an influence. And guess what? If the GOP was as bad as Christianity's influence is on the GOP, I'm pretty sure if the GOP was Islamic, it would be even worse. Okay, it would be horrible. Okay, so religion, when you have more influence, the reason why Christianity might be damaging the planet right now more than Islam is because the people who have the most influence over the planet, the world police, are more influenced by Christianity than Islam. Okay, so it's true, Christianity is fucking the planet more. However, it's true, I think, that if the superpower of the planet right now was Islamic, it would be it would be a lot worse. I'm just guessing, but let's continue.
Infinitely more damage. No, all problems can be fixed. The problem is an issue between eternal religious fundamentalism. You're unbelievably ignorant about the topic. It's amazing. Wow, it's okay.
Oh my God, these people who say you're unbelievably ignorant, they're usually the people that have the least nuanced takes. They have nothing to say. They only say you're unbelievably ignorant. They have nothing to say. They just empty. Because if they had something to say, they would just make that point instead of saying you're unbelievably ignorant. And like as much as I disagree with so many of the takes that Vaush is having, he's a lot more nuanced than most of his live chat.
Okay, you know what? I guess we're gonna throw this out there too. Wow. Okay, guys, what did Iran look like in the 1950s?
Oh my God!
We want to.
Yes.
Find some picture here. Hold on.
Oh my God!
Let's take a look.
Yes, it was women studying within skirts. Yes.
Now that's
yes, United States. Okay,
that's
here.
An interesting. Wow, geez. This looks like an American university. I mean,
what? This is the American-centric perspective, so it's good because it looks like American. I'm being
that's not what he means.
I know. I'm just pretending to be a wokey. Okay, so yes, United States screwed up. They removed the people's choice, and they basically reinstalled an authoritarian, and they basically got in the way of democracy, and that led to a backlash, which brought the Islamic government back. Yeah. True. United States screwed up Iran. Okay. However, it wasn't just the United States. Let's also blame the Shah for trying to force secularism and westernization on people, and the people's and basically any form of resistance to that, the authoritarian way of Reza Shah, ended up popularizing the resistance movements, which the most organized versions of that was the Ayatollah, the mullahs at that time, and also let's also blame the mullahs maybe, and the fact that Islam. Let's also blame Islam, right? I'm just saying it's not the binary thing. It's not United States screwed up Iran and religion had no influence. Okay, the damage that was made to Iran because of the Islamic Revolution of 1979 would have not been this bad if it wasn't because of the role of religion. Okay, yes. Keep telling everybody how bad United States government was, because it's true. It's true. But please also blame Islam. You can do both.
now that was literally only in Kabul and major cities. Yeah, no shit.
Only in Kabul, a major cities. Kabul is in Afghanistan, not Iran.
Go to American backwoods
Well-
and see what it looks like there.
No, I think he's
There's-
talking about oftentimes people show pictures of Afghanistan in the 1970s versus now,
Right.
where it's like full burqa. That's what they're referring to. People,
No, but they're saying that, like, they're saying that if even back then in Iran, if you went to like parts of Tehran and like not in the universities, or you go to smaller cities, you will see a lot more religious people, a lot more head covering, right? So that's the point that somebody in the live chat, I think that's what the point was. But the thing is that, okay, sure, but that was their choice. The women that were covering in Iran back then, they were like, not during Reza Shah time, but
Yeah.
during Muhammad Reza Shah time, they were covering because they wanted to cover, and these women didn't cover because they didn't want to cover. So the fact that some women were covering, do you think that was a sign of backwardness? I mean, that's their secularism. You cover your head if you want.
also across the world, urban centers are more liberal.
Yeah, exactly. Like so this person is like, oh, that's just the universities and the major cities. Like, okay, well now that's happening nowhere because everybody's forced to wear a job. So I'm pretty sure, like, what is that point? Like, yeah, so it's worse right now. So even now you see that nowhere.
You know why things changed? It's not because they all suddenly read the Quran. It's because
Okay, it's not because they all suddenly really read the Quran, but the people who think that the Quran is what you should be, the people who think that the law of the land should be based on the Quran, they became the most powerful. So yes, it's not, most Muslims haven't even read the Quran, and even the ones who read the Quran, they're not like robots that you insert the Quran and have to follow the Quran verbatim. It doesn't work like that, right? However, do not dismiss the influence of the Quran, because the people, again, I'm not dismissing the influence of the United States, but the Quran and Islam has a role, because the people that became the powerful ones were the people that thought that the Quran should be the rule of the land.
material conditions changed the people in power and changed the things that people were afraid of. Okay? People don't just read the Quran and then their brain rewires and they're suddenly radical extremists.
True. And not only that, they don't even read the Quran. Most Muslims have never read the Quran.
Material conditions dictate people's degrees of extremism. Socioeconomic conditions, not just family wealth, because I'm pretty sure terrorist groups tend to have a lot of people from upper middle class families, but
they're leaders, not all of them.
He's also being very reductionist about this. It's not purely about your geopolitical climate.
No.
It's also, there are individual vulnerabilities that play into this as well.
Right.
conditions, social conditions like imperialism.
You could say all of this and still not dismiss the influence of religion.
I mean, look at what the Native Americans did after we invaded the American continent.
They didn't do radical.
There are actually really interesting books on how their
That's actually a good point. They never became this radical.
religious and military tendencies changed after we arrived.
True, but
And a lot of colonizers, they thought they were just naturally savage people, the Native Americans. When in reality, as it turns out, being invaded by foreign powers, having your democratic leaders disposed, having your neighboring countries fall apart and crumble into a collection of terrorist groups, that actually fucks you up a little bit.
I mean, your country dropped 2 nukes on Japan, and now you're buddies within like less than 1 generation. They're like one of the most.
It's not that simple.
I know it's not, but that's my point. It's not that. My point is like it's not that simple.
There are people in China.
I mean, it's the third most biggest economically country, like the biggest economy, third biggest economy in the world. Like, where's the radical Japanese people? Anyways,
right now who are acting as though I'm the one taking a reductionist position.
Oh, yeah.
When their argument is just Islam bad. You people are the reason why we can't fix these problems. You realize that, right?
See, Vaush, that's exactly what you're doing. Yes, they're idiots if they're saying it's just Islam, but you are also saying it's just American intervention. You're both being reductionist. So you're saying they're telling me I'm being reductionist, but they're being reductionist. You're both being reductionist.
There was another
Darko, you people.
world where very slight differences were made, where Western Europe and America are thriving Western Islamic countries, and there is a shitbed Christian fundamentalist majority in the Middle East. There is absolutely no reason why that world could not exist. And people in that world would be saying that Christianity is just naturally violent, that it's the religious extremism.
Christianity is naturally violent.
God, look at the text of their book.
It
No.
is.
No.
True.
No.
Wait, no. Christianity is naturally violent. Have you read the Bible? I mean, what's wrong with that argument?
If you fix conditions, you fix problems. So let's fix conditions.
Oh my god.
I mean, I was going to do another Godwin with Adolf's book. If you, never mind. I'm not going to.
And by the way, none of what I've said
I'm going to do only one Godwin per stream.
discounts any of the internal religious conflicts in the Middle East. Do you think those religious conflicts may have been exacerbated by Western imperialism, by us drawing borders, by us depriving them of resources, by us funneling money into insurgent groups, by us deposing their leaders? Do you think any of that might have had an effect?
Yes, and Islam, all of that, and Islam.
All of you to adopt what I was taught is called the sociological imagination, to reject essentialist explanations for complex issues.
I'm surprised he didn't mention that United States basically originally funded the Mujahideen in Afghanistan that led to Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda imprisoning Baghdadi and putting in American prisons in Iraq and putting him next to other radicals and getting him an influence, like getting a free audience like that. It was basically also an American thing. Like, I'm surprised he didn't mention those. Like that, those are all the influence of United States intervention that led to both Al-Qaeda and ISIS. But again, I say that, and I also blame Islam.
Issues like Islam just makes you radical, and instead think about
not just Islam does make you radical, but not just
the ways in which people are built by their environments.
It's both. Vaush, it's both.
What about the colonial borders in the Middle East? Yeah, you mean when Western powers drew lines in the sand and forced tribes together that didn't have anything in common and previously hated each other, but now they were forced to be a state? Yep, we did that in Africa too. Led to
in India too, with Pakistan started one of the worst.
A lot of problems down the line.
A lot of
blood. Of long-standing resentment.
True.
Do you think there might be a reason? You know, if I recall... Wait, hold on. Vaush, Islam is far more restrictive and totalitarian. Christianity doesn't require things like head coverings.
No! Oh my God. Okay. That's not the reason why Islam is worse. If you
wait, I want to see what he's going to respond to that. How would he respond to that?
Christianity doesn't let you wear mixed fabrics.
True.
The only reason why Islam expresses itself in a more fundamentalist way is because it comes from socioeconomically.
The only reason?
Not the only reason.
Dude.
Okay.
It's because it's the direct and perfect word of Allah, uncreated. No. Like
actually,
it's an absolutist totalitarian ideology.
Okay, that's not the main reason, in my opinion. Okay, so here's the thing: Islam is Christianity, Judaism are extremely restrictive, very restrictive. Okay, so that is not, in my opinion. Okay, and let's be honest, Islam is more restrictive than Christianity, but not more restrictive than Judaism. Judaism, because when it comes to laws and regulation and what you're supposed to do, Islam and Judaism are intense, take over all of your life, right?
Really anal retentive.
Over everything, okay? When it comes to personal life, okay? So here's the thing. Christianity, less restrictive. Judaism, more restrictive. When it comes to personal life, very comparable to Islam when it comes to personal life. But now when we get to politics and ruling over people, nothing competes with Islam over that, okay? this is why Islam is way more political religion than any other religion out there. The very simplistic way for you guys to put this in perspective is just to understand that if you could simplify, reduce Christianity's way of life into one sentence, is do what Jesus did, right? And follow Jesus's way. And if you could reduce Islam into one phrase, simplistic, I know this is very simplistic, is follow Muhammad's way. And by Muhammad's way, I'm also talking about his revelation, which is the Quran. So his Sunnah and his Quran. But if you look at Jesus, Jesus and Muhammad, their stories are they both were rebels that rose up against the religious authority at their time. The difference between these two stories is that Jesus was lost and got crucified, right? Jesus was killed before he didn't manage to have a government, a caliphate, or anything like that. Like, he didn't rule over people. And Muhammad was victorious, and he destroyed the Quraysh, and he ruled. So we have a lot of examples from Muhammad's life on what to do when you're ruling and how to rule. And that makes Islam. And again, I'm not saying Christianity doesn't have inherently political verses. It does. There's a lot of things that kings and queens have been using in the Bible for hundreds of years as a way to justify how they're ordained by God and why they can crush people as the way they are. Okay, I'm not saying Christianity doesn't have inherently political excuses that is useful for the propaganda of authoritarians. It does, but Islam has that 1,000 times over. It's the best dogma out there for authoritarians and for radical movements. If you wanted to make a religion that could be used by both militia, radical groups, and authoritarian governments, you couldn't do better than Islam, okay? I'm not dismissing how destructive Christianity has been. Given that GOP has so much influence over the world and they be influenced by Christian, the destructive nature of Christianity is astronomically high on the planet. But inherently, the text of Islam is a lot worse. It's a lot more useful to people that want to do a lot of damage by brainwashing people. So, yeah.
Jesus, have you read the Bible?
Yes, bad.
There's tons of stupid shit in there.
Yes, I have.
There are Christians who lived in fuck parts of the world. There are Christian minorities in parts of the Middle East.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know what? They don't act like our Christians. They're a little bit more radical.
Wait, what? No. Christian minorities? Usually minorities behave very well. Wait, am I getting this wrong? Christian minorities in Iran and in Egypt
or Pakistan have to tread on eggshells.
They're not radical. You behave this badly when you're majority, and so it's an influence of both socioeconomic factors and religion and having the power. When you are a minority and you're the group that is being wronged, you're on your best behavior. I mean, look at the Muslims no, that's not a fair comparison, because I'm saying Muslims in North America, but they're not fair about the Muslims in Europe. But usually minorities are pretty well behaved. The Christians in Egypt and Iran, they're not radical.
Jesus.
What Christian groups do you think he's referring to that they're radical?
What's wrong with you people today?
What are you referring?
Why everyone is so insistent on it's Islam?
It
Jesus
is
Christ. You willing to bet?
It's like he never talked to you.
Come on, Vaush. You hate religion. Come on, Vaush. You said religion is cringe. It is Islam to some extent. To a huge extent. Don't dismiss the role of religion. I think
he's just talking about people who are just make it 100% a religious argument.
Okay.
Slightly familiar with any of the tenets of the Quran, which I am, by the way, not. I don't even know why we're having this conversation.
Well, I am.
Religious fundamentalism.
It sucks.
When we know religious fundamentalism stems from radicalization.
And Islam. And religion. itself, and the text, and the scripture. The scripture has an influence, Vaush. Do you think the Mayans, when they were being Vaush, when the Mayans were doing human sacrifice, I'm pretty sure it was somewhat the influence of like the internal politics that they were having with the other tribes around them, and they're sending a message. And also it also has the fact that their religion also said that the gods one blood, I think also had some influence on that.
I've actually heard a different theory.
Really? Okay.
People from the Middle East are literally telling you the internal conflicts we came from. It's upsetting. Yeah, that's not an argument. Yeah, you think if you ask somebody in Iran, yeah, I bet they'll tell you that the problems in their part of the world come from certain thing. And if you ask a person in Iraq or Afghanistan, they'll tell you something else, okay? Yeah, people are beholden to the material conditions that they live in. But if you ask a scholar who studies the Middle East, or if you ask, people who are educated enough to rise above the propaganda inherent to living in a country with an invested interest, you might find different answers.
Oh my God, this is great. He's telling a lefty audience that scholarly work and academic analysis is superior to personal bias lived experiences. This is so good. This is something his like lefty audience need to hear. Good. I like that.
All right.
Yeah, especially if you're living under Iran, you're gonna in Iran or in Iraq, you're gonna have very biased experiences. Especially if you're not paying attention to data.
All right, we can't. I don't know why all the Sam Harrisites are here in chat. We'll do this later.
Why it's
women weren't allowed to drive cars without their husband's consent here in Germany till the 60s, and rape in marriage wasn't outlawed until 1998 here in Germany. Yeah, here in America it was till like the 1970s that women could open bank accounts on their own. For fuck's sake, we had 100 years war between Catholics in France and Protestants of the Church of England.
Yes, so the Enlightenment that Europe went through was a war against religion. So you're admitting that. So why are you guys denying that to the Middle East? So the reason why things got better in Western Europe is because of a movement, an Enlightenment movement that was partly against religion, the influence of religion on people's lives. So why are you not prescribing that medicine to the Middle East? So if we want to see the same results, maybe we need movements inside the Middle East that is also against the influence of religion. You just proved my point.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah, you just proved my point. Hey, didn't you, Suze?
Yeah, we're still fighting for abortion. I don't know how anyone can see how Christians behave
Did you not
themselves in
just
the
prove
United
our
States
point?
of America and then go to like sneer at Islam in the Middle East.
You just said, but he just, Suze, he just said the thing. He just said the thing, and then he said the other thing. Do you see that? Do you see my point? He's like, women used to be like this, and then they get to do this, and we had the Catholic Church, and then people fought against it. Yeah, can we have the same thing in the Middle East? Like,
your voice got such a high register.
The same push against the Catholic Church that we had in Western Europe because of the Enlightenment movement. Can we have that against Islam? Maybe in the Middle East, like. Yes, more like you're saying that's how things got better. Well, we want the same thing. What? God, that's what he's. Anyways, I'm gonna be fair though. It's a lot better than most. Wait, not most than any other channel out there. I think that we've seen, except ours. That's why you subscribe to Atheist Republic. Okay? This is why you because what you just saw was the best take so far that me and Susie could find on this whole thing. And we are better than that. So you subscribe. Why is our channel not that big? And we're demonetized. It's not fair. Anyway, support us on Patreon. Susie is tired. I know. We've been here for 3 hours. I get it. All right. Bye. Subscribe to our newsletter. Link in the description.